Hey everybody, welcome back to the CAF Plus channel. This is gonna be a fun night. We're gonna be talking with Little John Nacinovich. You've probably seen him at shows, whether you knew it was him or not, and you thought that guy does not look anything like somebody who should be named Little John, of course, unless already got an affinity for Robin Hood and a few other tales. But yeah, welcome back. We've it's been a lot of fun this weekend on the CAF Plus channel and some other things that we had going on around here at CAF HQ, but we've got this interview with John. We were already having some good conversation in the green room, so we're going to carry that over into things right now and bring John into the show. Hey, John, how are you?
What's up, Bill? How are you?
I am very good, honestly. Yeah, I had a good productive weekend around here, and yeah, things are always hopping around here. How about you?
Doing good, doing all right. Just trying to, like we were talking about before, just trying to figure out what art is going to go back up on the walls. So apologies to everybody. Nothing's on the walls right now due to a. Some folks know about this. If you go to Heroes Con and I talk to you, tree split our house in two a few years ago. Came through. The house is all fixed now, but now we're still unpacking boxes, and I've got art all around me, but nothing is on the walls yet. So we're trying to decide what to put back up on the walls and what new stuff needs to be framed because I've got some new art that I was showing Bill showed up a couple weeks ago, and I'm still haven't posted to CAF yet, but we're getting there. We're getting everything put back up and put back on the walls again. So
Was like right there? Is that artwork like
right
sitting
here,
behind you? Yes, I
right
think
here,
so.
right, yeah, yeah, right here.
Let's see. Oh, wrong one. Here we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
there's a for my wife. That's Elvin Ching did a Cruella, right? And then I
Very
got
nice.
and then
Now, was that a commission or something that
that
was
that
pre
was a
done?
that was a commission. That was a commission uh from Elvin Ching from Jiggy's crew. I from That was from the Comic Art Live, the fall Comic Art Live in
Oh, great.
25. So, and I've got
Were you
a
just creating a stash of art with Jiggy until he shipped it to you?
yeah, a little bit, right? And then, I picked that one up on one of the live shows, Little Ghost Rider,
Yeah, that's a
you
good
know.
one.
So, lots of fun. But yeah, I've got artwork and books are over here. So yeah, just trying to get everything trying to get everything back and organized and together. So
So literally, this room that you were in was crushed.
yeah, yeah. So literally to right over here, like if you were looking at it, the tree came down from there and it crossed the house. It was a 75-foot oak tree and hit right there and split the house in two. It's a little split level house. Went over the house, ripped the service line out of the front of the house, right? So it looked like Wile E. Coyote escaped our attic and left out and then landed on the roof of my truck. So all the way over. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, so you did have art on the walls when this
Art
happened, but
art
a
was
lot
on
of
the
the art
art
wasn't
was on the
damaged at all.
walls. Nothing fell off the wall. Um, we lost I have some custom made bookshelves that are a local guy did in from Georgia for me and made them sturdy. So one of the bookshelves that held a bunch of the signed books actually held up the roof. It would be right over there if you were in the house. So it held the beam and the roof and part of the tree from coming crashing down through the rest of it. I've It's on his Google review now. So uh, with a picture of the roof and the bookshelf holding up the roof as it came down through it. So we had that, but luckily enough, where the tree hit was on the impact beam, um, right next, right next to my George Perez blonde Phantom, hanging on the wall, didn't even shake the frame. So, and it was when I came downstairs, right? No power. It was 6 o'clock in the morning. It's still dark out and everything. And I come down the stairs. My wife was sleeping on the couch when the tree hit. Um, Luckily, I had gone up to bed, because otherwise, where I would have been sitting on the couch was where the ceiling would have dropped on me. So it missed her by a foot and a half. And then as we were looking around, and I went, oh no! And I looked back at the wall, and the George Perez is just sitting there, and it's perfectly hung. So I walked over to the wall where the artwork was hanging, and I was like, okay, we're all coming down off. We're gonna be, gonna be all good. So
Well, that is a good thing. I can't imagine something like that happening.
yeah,
And and you had a lot of art on the walls. That's why you have nothing on there right now.
yes, that is
And
correct.
we talked though. You said that you did lose a couple pieces
I
of art,
did.
but not because of the tree.
Not
So
because of the
explain
tree.
this.
Yeah. So there was artwork that I had. The bookshelf that was holding up the roof, I had in top loaders. There were three pieces in top loaders that were just sitting on top of a book. So one was a jam piece. Matthew Clark did the layouts and the Superman. It was 70s characters. And it was just done. I wanted to get a couple more pieces colored, so that was in a top loader. A piece from John Beatty. He did Augie Doggy and Doggy Daddy for my wife, and then another piece from a local artist was sitting there, and they were all in top loaders. And because the way that the water came through and hit the books, the water got into the top loader, and by the time we could get the ceiling off and everything else, and we went and grabbed, and I saw the top loaders, I'm like, oh good, the top loaders are still there. Water got in there, and the paper actually molded. So it just crushed me. Like, I couldn't even get the jam piece out of the top loader, like, because the paper was just done. It was just done.
Wow.
So, but three pieces out of my collection being lost to that, aside from a bunch of books. Anybody that wants to, if anybody finds a good price on the old graffiti, Shazam and the Masters of Evil hardcover book that was in the red slipcase,
Hmm.
if you find it, shoot me a message and let me know if it's a good price, because that book is really expensive now. And that's the one that I missed. There's a few other ones that I've had replaced since then, got them signed, heroes and things like that. But yeah, that one was the one that hurt. But at least all the artwork was safe. My original Star Wars poster from '77, signed and remarked by Greg Hildebrand, perfectly fine, didn't come off the wall. All that stuff was good. So uh, really lucky there. But now it's just fighting with the insurance company, to get the rest of the money that they owe us.
Well, at
So
least the house is intact. But with the insurance
yeah.
company, did you have any claims related to any, there weren't many collectibles that were damaged, but did you have to mention the art and a few other
Yeah, I
things that
mentioned.
made
Yeah,
damage?
I mentioned the art. They gave me for my jam piece, right? And we all know how much jam pieces go. Start out with, right? Per character, and there was 7, 8 characters on there. At a roughly 110, $125 a character, right? Uh, I was like, well, I lost this and I lost that, and they're like, we'll give you like tree fitty, for it, and that's it. They're like, it wasn't, you didn't have, because I don't. It's one of those things where now I've started inquiring about collectibles insurance, because they
Hmm.
were just like, to the insurance company, that was a piece of paper with with crayon on it, and I'm like, but it's not. And they're like, well, can you prove it? Where are all the receipts? Where are all this? And I'm like, oh man. I'm like, artists don't give me receipts.
Not when you're doing a jam piece, going to cons and that
No.
sort of thing.
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
So they did ask though. They were like, "Can you
Yeah.
show me proof of what you
Yeah,
paid for this?"
yeah, can you show me proof? And I was like, well, if I show you the proof and all this other stuff, what do you get? And they're like, well, artwork is subjective, and and they're like, you really need artwork insurance. And I was just like, well, all right, I'll leave that alone, right? Like, I can't imagine. I'm still fighting them for the all of our kitchen cabinets had to be replaced, and they they were just destroyed, and they still haven't finished paying for all of that. So, and the
Kitchens
laundry,
aren't cheap either.
yeah, no, and the laundry room's still not fixed yet, so I still need to collect for that, so that my contractor can come back and do the laundry room. But that's the least of the worries. It's functional. It's just the ceiling is all messed up, water damage and things like that. But that's in the basement. I don't have to see that every day. So,
Right, right. Well,
you
at
know,
least you and your wife came through without any injury, and the majority of your collection
yep,
remained either on the walls or unscathed, however
yeah,
you tend to store most of your stuff. Well, and that's why so you got to get some art on the walls. Your wife is
yes.
right,
Hmm.
but it's got to be the right pieces. But how many pieces do you have framed awaiting getting put back on the walls?
Let's see, probably a good, at least a good 75 pieces that are framed that
Dang.
need to go back up on the walls. Yeah, when people come over to the house, it is uh they enjoy it when everything's on the wall. Because it's not the normal, and your office is the same way. It's not, there's no live, laugh, love or anything like that on there. People come over and they walk in and they're like, what is that? Who's that? Wait a minute. And they just, people tend to, they wander around and they're, you get to show off, it's like almost like a little mini, museum, as it were. So I get to talk about that with a whole bunch of people that come over. It was actually, that was one of the reasons um, the remediators that came through to finish the water damage and put all of our stuff in storage. He was a comic book fan. So when he came over and they started boxing everything up and they had saw what was on the walls and everything, he was instructing his crew to be extra careful with it, and he gave me a little bit of a discount because we got to talking about comic art
Yeah,
and
you're
comics.
simpatico. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're part of the
exactly.
same club.
Yeah, part of the same
Good
club,
guess.
and he was just sitting there, and he was just like, "That you be careful with that, you do that." He's like, "This is how we wrap up artwork, right?" And he was training people. That was amusing, right? Like the insurance adjuster couldn't have cared less. Well, one of the 7 insurance adjusters that has been on our account. So, you know,
Wow.
so that
Well,
was yeah, that was lots of fun. Yeah,
well,
yeah,
you'll
but
have a lot of fun putting 75 pieces of art back on your walls. Then
yeah,
that'll be
that's
the
yeah,
interesting thing.
exactly. Yeah. The upper hallways they're all there. Like the office upstairs is our basically our Disney room. So there, it's all Disney themed stuff, and downstairs is all movies. We try and it's more movie themed, comic artwork and all that other stuff, and then the walls are all just filled with miscellaneous pieces. As we go through because. Uh, my wife was resistant to the idea of comic book conventions at first. She didn't really understand them and everything. She was nerdy enough with Disney and the Muppets and things like that. But I took her to Heroes, and we went up to Heroes Con, and hung out. Uh, she hung out a little bit, here and there until she got her first piece of artwork, and then she realized that I started introducing her to some of the people like Mike Kunkel and things like that, and
Hmm.
it's like, oh, this person was an animator for Disney, and this is good. And she was like, oh, so I can do this and this. And I was like, yeah. And then now my budget has essentially been cut in half when I go to conventions because she's now chasing and
That
getting
was a
lunch.
mistake, John. You
Yes,
should have.
she has snaked me getting pieces from Kevin Nolan 2 years in a row at Heroes Con now. She's got that. She got the raffle ticket for that. She's got the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez piece, so she snaked me out of that line. And all that. So it's just
Did she
and
just say, "I'm
plus,
going to see you in a little bit," and you
yeah,
find out later that she went to the line while you were?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So but she does like she does get me a ticket as well, but somehow her name, all these artists keep pulling her name, and I just know that she's better looking than I am, and I know exactly why she gets picked for this stuff. So
wow. Well, let's see what Ken Gagnon says. The wife and I turned our master bedroom into OAX Comic Con every day.
that's right. There you go,
Yeah, you
Ken.
gotta.
Yeah,
But
you have
you
to.
don't want them cutting in line and stuff, or
Right.
getting ahead
You
of
know,
you in
yeah,
these sketch lists.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's okay. It's all fun. At least the pieces are still in the house, right? I can look at them, right? So
Right.
they're still, they're in our collection now, right?
Yeah. Well, Disney and Muppets are a little bit more mainstream traditional than
Hmm.
superheroes, even still, right? I mean, at the end
Yeah.
of the day, the Disney characters are very beloved, and
Oh yes.
I can get it. I can see how it takes a little bit of a transition, but like you said, so many artists cross over
Hmm.
between Disney IPs and Marvel or DC. Kunkel's a great example,
Yeah.
but I mean, you could think of Phil Noto. I mean, there's so many
Yep.
artists that have worked in film and animation and comics as well that uh, yeah, you're almost hard pressed to find artists that haven't that have worked for a major publisher that haven't already done something in film or television.
Right. Yeah. And she's a Star Wars fan too, and a sci-fi fan. And we just went. We saw Spider-Man on Sunday at noon, and she enjoyed that too. So I was like, well, I kind of created a monster here, but hey, I'm okay with it because it's not. It could be the opposite where it's you're doing what this weekend. Wait, what are you doing on a Tuesday night? You're talking with Bill about comic book art. How? Why? Right?
What what could possibly take more than 10 or 15 minutes?
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, well, that's awesome, man. It really is.
Yeah.
I can't say that too often we talk, with collectors and their spouses are in on it with them, but a lot of them are. I mean, that's part of the fun with OAX, obviously, is
Hmm.
the chance to to bring your significant other with you and
Yeah.
get to hang out at the show, and a lot of people do it. I think, gosh, I don't remember what our count was last time around. Kazra might remember, but I think we sold over 70 couples tickets, and
Yeah.
most of those couples tickets went to honest to God couples,
Yeah.
not just
Yeah.
a
Not just
buddy.
not the folks that are just trying to, hey, be my date for the weekend. Yeah. No, my
That's
wife's
great.
looking. Yeah, she's looking forward to OAX again next year. So
That's awesome.
it's
Yeah, we
it.
need to. Well, we don't need. The thing is getting them in there on the floor and spending some money is always
Hmm.
fun. I mean, Josh Cassara and his wife Martha have bought quite a bit of art, and sold quite a bit of art at the show. It's just fun getting to watch everybody enjoy themselves in the arts
Right.
at at the show. But I mean, like you say, Heroes is a great show. I mean, I think
Hmm.
everyone at CAF HQ would agree too that that's like I mean, I grew up on, as an art collector going to Heroes. It's
Yeah.
a super fun show, and nothing beats Charlotte.
Yeah.
I have to say, Orlando, and Charlotte are both pretty good, but there's something about
Mhm.
Charlotte just being able to, you can literally walk to a 2 dozen great restaurants,
Right.
and there's no shortage of things to do right there.
Hmm.
I mean, that's such a special town.
Yeah.
There's no other place quite like it in the U.S.
Yeah.
I see Tom is telling us it's 228 days until OAX. Thank you for
That's
the
right.
reminder, Tom.
That's right, Tom. All
We
right.
are counting down the days here too, just not that
Yeah.
closely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it works out because since we're huge Disney fans, it's OAX, and then we go and spend the rest of the week at Disney, right? And
Uh,
just
Perfect.
make a week out of it. It's a little more expensive, but hey, what are you gonna do? You know.
No, I mean I go to Disney as often as I can, which is
Yeah.
usually like every other month. So I'm there.
Yeah.
And in between that, I go to Universal. So that
Okay.
want to have a good time. I get my Marvel fix in when I get to go to Universal.
Yeah.
Marcus does not know what OAX is. It's
I
such a
know
sad thing.
we'll have to I think we might have to get a presentation up for him and send it over to Marcus.
Yeah.
We can throw a slide deck together and explain it. So
Well, you are in IT as well. I
yes.
found that out. I had no idea
Hmm.
going into this, so that's pretty cool. I mean, do you
Yeah.
just what do you do in the IT world?
I work on the sexy side of IT. It's the hospitality industry. We do supply chain management and scheduling and time punches and all that good stuff for restaurants. Yeah, all the stuff that not everybody sees, but keeps the restaurants running. And you want to talk about supply chain and cost of goods and all that other stuff. Yeah, I can figure out why I can figure out why restaurant A transferred 1,000 pounds of beef fat instead of 100 pounds of beef fat to restaurant B, and why your variance is 42% now. Yeah, yeah, it's all that,
It's
all that.
glamorous, and
It's a
it's
glamorous life. Yeah, and it's the and it's the restaurant industry, so everything is an emergency, even though it's really not, but it is, right? Because everybody's bonuses are tied to cost of goods and labor performance and all that stuff. So, if there's an issue with the system and there's a glitch in the matrix, as it were, yep, that's
you're on the
yeah,
hot seat.
I am on the hot seat. I've I've
Quotas aren't being met, John,
Yeah.
because your spreadsheets are
Yes,
calculating.
exactly. And it's always a system problem until I can prove that it's not a system problem, right?
That's usually the way you have to work. Oh
Uh,
man. Well, so let's talk about you and collecting because
all righty.
we haven't done enough of that yet. So I know that we had, I read through a little bit of stuff, really,
Hmm.
the art descriptions on the pieces you picked for me.
Yeah.
So I kind of know where your art collecting journey at least got started. But I have to believe that in order for that piece of art to make its way to you, that you had to have been interested in the characters before that.
Oh yes. Yes, 100%. So yeah, my uh gravitated to comic books really young. So I started reading little bits here and there when I was around 2.5, 3 years old. Is when I was, picking up words and things like that. And then, of course, older cousins, like, they had comics, so I knew who the characters were. My cousins had showed me, right? So I'd seen Spider-Man and Superman, and things like that. And my dad had told me, and I remember the conversation. And I was 3, but I remember the conversation. He said, "You can't have any more comic books until you can read them yourself." Right? So he would read them to me, and he's like, "No more until you can read them yourself." So then we would sit down with the newspaper, and we would read uh, either either the front page stuff, or we would go to the comic section, and we would read, and he would teach me to read by reading the comic section, and that's where it all started. So once I start reading, I was able to get the hand me downs, uh, from the comics, even though my mother did not appreciate the comic books, as much. My dad liked them. He was a comic fan growing up, and so he didn't see any problem with it. Uh, and I was around 6 or 7 when my mother, all my tattered comics. I came home from kindergarten one day, and my comics were gone, just gone, just not a trace, just gone. And she made sure that they were gone. Couldn't go to Went to the trash. There was, they were in the trash, and there was just stuff all poured on it. Like, it was just like, you're not taking them back out of the trash. And that's when I found out that comic book collecting was a hobby. And once I told her that it was a hobby, they went ahead and my mom said, "Okay, you can keep them." Right. So I started, doing all that. And my aunt Millie, she was one of the few that didn't mind that I was reading comic books. I'm a 7, 8 years old, right? Yeah. She's like, "Let him go. He's reading comic books." But I was into every, like, sci-fi already, Universal monsters, right? Abbott and Costello. My dad got the old Shadow tapes, the
Hmm.
radio shows, because he grew up listening to those. So they started coming out on cassette, so he would pop those in the cassette. So we're listening to the Shadow and the Lone Ranger. My great grandmother would watch Tarzan, and she would explain, all this stuff. So she was into some of this stuff. But one Christmas, my aunt Millie hands me this just 11 by 17, like, flat thing, and it's wrapped in it, and it's board, whatever. And she's like, "Merry Christmas," and I open it up, and it's this beautiful. pencil inked watercolor Spider-Man piece, and I look at it, and I'm staring at it, and I was like, "Wow, this is really cool," right? And at first, like, it didn't register as to what it was. At first, I thought it was just like a poster, right? Something you could get in the store. And then I see, the best wishes always, John, and and then I look at the name, and I was like, well, that's Gray Morrow. And she's like, "Do you know who Gray Morrow is?" I'm like, "Yeah, he was at Marvel Comics, right? I've seen his artwork. He did this," and I started explaining it. And she had a when she and my uncle had bought the property, they had this guest house that was next to them, that they fixed up, and they started renting it out. Gray Morrow was living in my aunt's guest house, renting it from them. He and his wife were living there. And this is in Wharton, New Jersey, not too far from where the Kubert Art School, the first location where the Kubert Art School was.
Mhm.
Easy access to get into New York City. He was renting from my Aunt Millie, and she happened to mention that her nephew was a big fan of comic books and Spider-Man. So he did this up for me for Christmas. So I met Gray Morrow. My first piece of art collecting was a commission, and it's a watercolor Spider-Man piece, full figure from Gray Morrow, and it was free, which is the worst piece of artwork that you can give somebody, because now it's free. Like, but it started the bug. But there was nothing around me. Like, there were no conventions that I could get to. There was no way that my parents or anything were going to take me into New York to go into the little hotel cons that were happening, in the late '70s or anything like that. There's no way to do that. But this is the piece that started me on my on the collecting journey, where I figured out that, wait, I could actually get pieces from artists that I admire, right, and meet them. So I met Gray, right, for all of 10 to 15 seconds, right, because Lord knows Gray did not want to hang out with some 8-year-old kid, right, and talk about Spider-Man. But I met him, and I thanked him, and things like that. But yeah, this is the gateway drug. The first hit's free, as
Nothing
they
wrong
say.
with that. That's
No.
the but
Mhm.
so I mean, but that's kind of incredible that she was actually renting to him. So
Yeah. Yeah.
had he been there a while? I mean,
He
did she
he had
know?
been there. He'd been there a little bit. Like, he had mentioned that he had worked in comic books. Like, she knew that he was an artist and things like that. Sh I gave her the rundown of his career at Marvel, right? Like, because he was the art director late '60s, early '70s, I think, for a couple of years, right? And then he did a couple of other things, and I started talking about Flash Gordon, and stuff like that. They did the sci-fi stuff, and she's like, "You really know?" And it was only because I had an old tattered, like, it was like a fanzine, thing about, different creators and things like that, that I had come across at a library, that I had picked up. And that's how that's because I had started putting, this is about the time when you start putting the writers and the artists together with the comics that you're reading, right? We all, figure, like Kurt Swan. Like, I knew Kurt Swan's artwork. I knew Kirby, by this point. I knew Ditko because I was reading all those the little pocket Marvel comic books that came out, right? The little paperback reprints, and everything. And I had finally started, knowing who the artists were and which artists I like, and it all coalesced right here. And my dad was impressed. This piece has traveled with me, all around the country. It hung in my dorm room in college. It came down, when I moved down to Georgia. It came with me. It's been in every apartment. It's been in every house that I've had. It's in its third frame now. I went down, and I got the
I was just
museum
going to ask
glass
you,
on it.
because
Oh yeah.
it's not framed in this photograph.
The photograph here is when it was when I got finally got a good picture of it where I could get a decent photo when I took it out of the frame and I put it into a new frame with museum glass on it.
Well, that's wise to do, but it's incredible. I mean, everybody needs an ant like yours to get them
Yeah,
started collecting,
exactly.
let alone an ant like yours that has gray marrow living in her backyard.
Right, exactly. Oh, hey, Jiggy, what's up? No, Marcus, this is not for sale tonight.
Yes, this is not a claim show, Marcus. Sorry, sorry, sorry. Well,
Sorry.
I
Yeah.
bet if we were to, search on comic art fans, there are not too many Spider-Mans by Gray Morrow on the website.
Right. I've not seen a ton of Spider-Man from Graham Morrow. I've seen, stuff from the Nom that he did. Most of it, I see a lot of science fiction stuff. That's what I've come across. Uh, you know,
Right.
and
No, I love Gray Morrow's
yeah.
artwork. So this is a treat. But yeah, I don't know of all the pieces you sent me. I read like half the descriptions, but this was the
Hmm.
the most fun. I read it last as I was
Yeah.
kind of making my way to the front. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. We're gonna
Hmm.
probably show artwork out of order tonight because we have to show this piece as part
Yeah.
of the story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all good.
Well, I'm glad it's framed and it is on the
Oh
wall.
yeah, it's
That's
framed and everything. It was out of the frame. It's been. So I got this in '78 around Christmas time. Had it framed before New Year, before the New Year, right? Because I told my dad, I was like, we got to get this in a frame. It was on my wall, before the New Year in '78, and then been through a couple of different things. The early frame cracked, so I had popped it in a new frame, and then when I came down here and I was going to a local framer down in Georgia, I had this was the picture was taken as it was taken out of the frame. It was sitting on the desk for the framer as she picked it up with her white gloves. I was like, wait, let me snap a picture. We snapped the picture, and I'm like, okay, finally, I got a good picture of it out of a frame. Right. Just didn't have a scanner handy at Michael's. So,
well, wise thing to do. A lot of
yeah.
people regret the fact that they framed their artwork and they forgot to scan it
Yep.
ahead of time. It happens a lot. Here, let me hide this for now. But no, that's incredible, man. I mean, so is this indicative of your collecting journey that you haven't sold a lot of pieces? You pretty much have the majority of the things that you bought over time.
The only piece that I have let go from my possession was to an for an auction for a friend's daughter. I donated it for the auction so he could raise money for her for skating.
Okay.
That was it. She's a really good skater up in Canada. And it was an Ethan Van Sciver shadow piece, and I didn't need it in my collection anymore. So I just you
That
know
was an that
yeah
was an easy one to get rid of,
it
right?
was it was it was absolute it was one of the easiest decisions I've ever made. I'm like, I'm gonna make this go. I'm gonna donate this to an auction for women's skating, and it was perfect for me. And I just I let it go. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Congratulations on that. That's yeah, not too many artists put themselves in a position where their work is not desired by collectors, but Ethan
yeah.
managed to do that really well.
Yeah.
Uh but well, anyways, I think that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Well, I think many of us have had parents who have encouraged us to, read comics, collect comics, and maybe even get into art. I don't think anyone can say that they had a relative get them their first piece of artwork,
Yeah.
comic book artwork,
Yeah.
like that. Um, wow. So I mean, what is the story with Gray Morrow? Is there anything else interesting that happened there? I mean, was he there
No,
just a
he
short while after you got him?
he was there for a little while. Like I would see him, every once in a while. So my aunt was she had her own salon, and so my dad, instead of going to a barber to get his hair cut, that's where we would go.
Okay,
So we would go, get a hair. So I would wave to him every once in a while. But then he eventually moved. He eventually left and moved out to Pennsylvania. Uh, so I saw him a couple of times, but it was just, hey, how you doing, as I'm starstruck and going, oh God, I was like, Gray Morrow's right there. And I went back and I told my friends that I got this piece of artwork from Gray Morrow and all this other stuff, and nobody around me,
Did
at the time, not even a glimmer of recognition.
no
Everybody was like,
8-year-old me would have been saying the same thing. You're like,
"Yeah,
okay, buddy.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah." It was just, I'm running around going, "Oh yeah, this is awesome. Look at this." Except my one pal Jim was very impressed that I had an original Spider-Man drawing from a Marvel artist, right? Like, so there was one person that was, a little simpatico with me, but everybody else was just like, "Yeah, who cares?" You know.
exactly.
you know.
So this is the late 80s. You get your first piece of art.
That was
What,
78
or
was my
I'm
first
sorry,
piece.
late
Yeah,
70s,
late
78. That's
70s.
right.
Yeah, it was 78. Yeah.
So you're
hmm
like 8 or 9 years
I
old.
was 8 years old. Yeah.
8 years old.
hmm
And so when do you actually get your second piece of art then?
So my second piece of art, shoot, it took a long time, um,
Because this is
because
you're looking at the Spider-Man now
yeah,
daily
I've
because you
been
framed
yeah,
it before the new year.
right, and I see it all the time. So I went whole hog on the comic collecting, right? Like, I just, like, that was where everything was, because there was no place that I could go, where I could get where I could get original art, right? Like, I would see the classifieds, and this and that, and of course my dad was like, "There is no way that I'm going to let you send a check for $100 to some stranger from a comic book ad, and they're going to send you art. They're not. It's going to happen. It's a scam. You're going to get ripped off, right?" So then, high school, I went to the my first convention, which was the Fangoria Weekend of Horrors, their first convention. Didn't know what to expect, because it was Fangoria, right? So there's a picture of me and my friend Chris, in the next Fangoria issue, in the letter column, when we were watching Tom Savini
A
do a
demonstration.
demonstration.
That's very
Yeah,
cool.
so we're up on the balcony. So we're like, yeah, again, nobody cared. We're in high school. Oh, you were in Fangoria. Like, nobody cares, right? Except for me and Chris and
Hey,
like
if
a
I could
couple
have,
other
I'd
people,
love to be able to
right?
say I was pictured in in an
Yeah,
issue of Fangoria magazine,
yeah.
watching
So
Tom Savini do
yeah,
a demonstration on how to, put
yeah.
on prosthetics or,
Yeah,
squirt
it
blood out of
was
selfies.
he has it's almost like a puppet, almost, right? It's like an animatronic thing. So we're in there and we go there, and I had I wasn't expecting it, so we met a couple of the horror stars, got some autographs and things like that. But then I walked through, and lo and behold, there were artists there, right? And I'm just like, "Oh, what's what's happening, what's going on?" And then, I'm looking at it, and I didn't have enough, but I got, they're they've been they're around in boxes, but it's a couple of backing board sketches just from some of the artists that were there. Nothing major, just free sketches, things like that. Wasn't until It probably wasn't until, so long way to go. Probably wasn't until started going to Dragon Con after I moved down here to Georgia in '94. That's when I started getting more art, on backing boards and things like that. Hadn't really broken out into the commission thing yet, but was just going through, and and artists were great. I like getting sketches and books, right? So I would buy books from the artists at the table, get sketches and books, and get things there. And then uh and then it just started with Dragon Con again. So not until '94 was when I really started getting back, dipping my toes back into the water, for it. And then we started doing the little Georgia conventions here and there, and it started ramping up. There was a Georgia convention back in early 2001, that was really nice. That was a lot of fun. That was where I had met I'd met Adam Hughes there. Like it's like all the local Atlanta folks were coming in there before Dragon Con really clamped down on, hey, if you're coming to Dragon Con, you can't do these other shows that are within this sort of radius kind of
Oh,
thing.
they did something like
Yeah,
that?
they did. Yeah, they've clamped down on that a little bit, but it was like that show was, it was like Phil Noto, Michelle Gagne, uh Amanda Connor, Adam Hughes, Umberto Ramos, and we were all sitting around the hotel, and they were doing a fundraiser for somebody, and it was $25 for an 11 by 17 board, and we all started hanging out, and they were all just doing head sketches. So I've got a little jam board, with a bunch of head sketches from that night. It's Adam Hughes and Amanda Connor threw the pro on there, and Umberto Ramos and things like that. And then once that happened, and I was at that convention, that's where I started going. Okay, I met Sanford Green at that show, and he did a head sketch for me there, and then it just it started ballooning from there. So that's when like the bug hit, and I was like, oh yeah, I can add to my art collection, and I can start doing this, and I can give Spider-Man some friends and on the wall, and and do all that. So
Well, I just looked over in your CAF gallery and I don't see Amanda Connor's name, so I can't see what that piece was. So I don't know
no,
if
I don't know. I was pretty sure it was up there. I was looking for that the other day because I have another jam piece. She did a Power Girl for me uh, at the first OAX on a jam piece. Um, and I don't know I don't know where it did. I thought I uploaded it, but I have to re-upload it again because the Andrea DeVito piece is there. It's he did the thing for it, and
Mhm.
he did the layouts for it. And I swear after OAX, but it may have just been posted in a chat or something on Facebook because I thought I uploaded to CAF, but it's not there. So I, I've got some pieces to do. Like I got a piece from Mike Kunkel. That he did for me that goes with the it's Hero Bear. It's an homage to the Superman versus Spider-Man cover.
Mhm.
It's not uploaded to CAF yet, but he did a Hero Bear versus Spider-Man, and it's the Spider-Man's on the on the tower and this and
Top of
that, and
the
he's sent
Empire State. Yeah,
yeah
exactly.
yeah, on the Empire State Building, and Hero Bear's coming up, and it's really great. He did a limited edition print of it for Heroes this past Heroes Con, so that's got to go up there. And then I got an Iron Giant piece from Stefan Frank, who was the supervising animator from the Iron Giant, so he did an Iron Giant piece for me. So those are going up on CAF probably tomorrow. So I've got those. So
We're gonna
uh,
hold you to that,
yeah,
John.
but I've got to get my gem piece up there. I don't know why. So because Amanda did she did a great Power Girl, on there. I got Don Newton did a Captain Marvel on there for me, and then Andy and Veronica Fish did pieces on there. And I just heard about Andy, so I want to send him my best. But
Yeah.
so yeah, they did. I had finally finished that jam at the first OAX, and I was all happy about it. I was like, "Yep, I'm going to post that right up there." And the only thing that's up there is the thing with the layouts. And I was like, "I swear I posted it," and I've got it. I looked at it. I posted it on Facebook. I know I posted it there. I posted it in other groups, but
It's gotta go to CAF. I mean,
it's not on
I
my
get it.
calf yet. So yeah,
Well,
I'm
I'll tell you,
behind.
early summer, I was trying to clean things out. I was looking at some of the kids' artwork that I've gotten them over the years, and then I started pulling out all my portfolios. And I literally, for a day and a half, I think as I flipped through the portfolios and checked what I didn't have on CAF, and I was a
Hmm.
little surprised because I always feel like before I even slide it into an Itoya, I take a scan of it at
Right.
least.
Hmm.
And I had at least 30 pieces
Yeah.
that I hadn't even scanned. So I spent, that extra half day, so it ended up being a whole weekend, finding all the pieces that I just mistakenly not taken the time to scan. So I know how it goes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, especially, well, things get in the way.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That whole, if work wouldn't get in the way so much, I could scan stuff and put more stuff on CAF and do things that I enjoy. But hey,
Yeah. Well, we have an app now. It is easier to take photos and
yes,
throw
it
things up
is.
on the site
It's
that way.
yeah, it is
I've,
much
I've
easier.
actually still used the, I like doing scans, off a scanner,
Hmm.
and so I still use the desktop to upload from. I browse the site a lot on the app, but
Yeah.
I just can't. I've taken a few photos to use them as uploads, and
Hmm.
they just don't feel the same as if when you put them on a flatbed and scan them.
Yeah,
So
no, yeah, I get it, but I'm not like I like having my stuff up there, like, but I don't mind taking it by the phone because as everybody that's on CAF has, sometimes a really good scan gets stolen, and you wind up seeing your stuff on a t-shirt and things like that, and it's annoying. So I'm like, maybe not so much of a good picture for this one, because I don't need you know
it's too, yeah, the art's too good, but then we all get disappointed that the quality of
that the
your
quality of the scan
images,
isn't.
and Chris and I'll say something about
Oh, I know. I'm well aware.
Yeah, but I get it. There's just not a whole lot you can do anymore, right? I mean, there's
Hmm.
only so many things we can do to protect images from getting,
Well, yeah,
scraped and stuff.
yeah, and
And you're in IT, so you know how
I
there's
know there's so many bots and scrapers and all that other stuff. I mean, we have to defend against it all the time, just like you do. Like, somebody was trying to get us, like, for example, somebody was trying to get us, and they were spoofing Teams calls the other day, and they
geez.
were coming through. So, like, we're getting these random calls on Teams, and I'm like, it's a random call. I'm like, I'm not answering a random call coming through on Teams, right? Because it's connected to work. Like, I know if you're somebody I work with and you're calling me on Teams, I know who you are. I'm not going to get a random number calling me, on Teams. But sure enough, somebody picked it up. They picked it up, and then IT's like, "Hey, if you're getting a call like this, don't answer." you know, it's
Well,
just,
that's how they get you.
yeah.
You can send out, what is it? Like 5 million Nigerian prince,
Hmm.
emails. All you need is one
All
person
you
to
need is one.
reply.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
to get
yeah.
somebody hooked.
Hmm.
But yeah. Oh well, such is the life of being in IT.
Yes.
But yeah, we use a CDN for our images. So
Hmm.
I actually locked CAF down a long time ago to sites I allow to
Yeah.
show the images. So that
Hmm.
blocks scrapers from even being able to use them, because most of those things they actually have to be able to get the image at the time they're trying to generate the image. It's not
Right.
like those AI companies. They're not like downloading all this stuff and storing it. They're
Yeah.
storing links out on
Yes.
the internet for it.
Hmm.
So we put in a thing. I mean, literally, I had to go and say it's okay for the CGC boards to link to our images. It's
Hmm.
okay for Pinterest to link to our images. It's okay for Google. I had to go through like a list of, like, it ended up being like 15, 18 sites that you could say I
Yeah.
allow these sites to redisplay it. But
Yeah.
even then, it's redisplaying it from my URL, so the AI scrapers still can't get it.
Nice.
But
Okay. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
it's a pain in the rear end to have to go through stuff like that to
It is.
protect
It
yourself.
is. But then, even if it's on cap, if you get the artist that you've commissioned or whatever, if when they post it and they just they throw it out there, then it's already gone. So
That's
so
right.
it doesn't matter
Right, but you don't own
sometimes.
anything you post to Facebook or any of the
Right.
other
No.
social media
No,
platforms, so you might
exactly.
as well kiss the that's true.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Hey, as long as you don't care, then I don't know. Yeah, that's a whole long conversation. But so that's cool. So Dragon Con, the Atlanta area, that
Yep.
really got you. I mean, that would at that time period,
Hmm.
there's just that was kind of a hotbed of creators coming into working on major titles. And
Yeah,
um,
it was,
wow.
yeah, it was crazy down here. It's where I met, like, we met I met Brian Stelfreeze at that old Atlanta con. Like, there's a piece that I have, I didn't send it to you, but it's on CAF, when it was right when Keanu Reeves was cast as Constantine, right? And
Hmm.
we were at a panel, uh bef- uh you had to go to this panel, and we were talking about casting in movies and all that stuff, and comic book movies, and what we would like to see. And Brian was on the panel, and he was just drawing, different things. And when he heard that Keanu was cast as Constantine, he drew a picture of Ted as Constantine. So it's Ted with a cigarette, and this and that. And we were having a good time at the panel, and he just gave me the drawing. Like, he just handed it to me. He's like, that was fun. So that one's, I have that on CAF. So that was, yeah, my first stealth freeze was free as well. So, it's
Not many people can say that. I still haven't
uh,
gotten my first stealth
yeah.
freeze. Your first was free.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. But yeah, so that's cool. So you were really at a good place, right time,
Hmm.
to be able to dive into art
Yeah.
collecting more seriously. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So from there, I mean, see, if we look at your CAF gallery,
Uh-huh.
clearly you lean more towards commission and convention sketch style
I
stuff than
I
published
do.
work.
I sometimes I regret not chasing panel pages,
Hmm.
right? Just because it's just because at that at the time, it's all, hindsight is horrible, right? But who knew that the art market was going to blow up, like it did. But I know how I get, and I know how I got with comics and things like that. Like, if I was to start chasing panel pages, like, my goal would have been, I want to put a whole book together. Like, I want all the pages from this book, right? Like, and I know the path that I would have gone down. But since I started with a commission that was given to me, I always like to get commissions from the artists, right?
Hmm.
That's where my mind is. Just because I can talk to the artists, and I never get an artist to do anything that the artist doesn't want to do. Right. I will give choices. I try and match artists with characters, right? Things like that. Like, I finally got, so George Perez. I don't think I sent that one to you, but the blonde phantom from George Perez, um, is the only time that he's drawn blonde phantom. So when he was active on some social media, we we were chatting and we became friendly. uh, early, early 2000s, right? Early 2000s, 2010, things like that. So we'd been talking about it, and it was a running joke that at every con that I would see him at, I was always getting to his table right after he closed his list. So it was always, yeah, there you go. So always right after he closed his list, running joke between the two of us. And he was like, one of these times, little John, we're going to get it. So the Heroes Con that he did this for, he had finally, he said that he was thinking about opening commission. So I sent him Facebook messages. I'm like, Uncle George, it's time. We need to do this. And I'm a big lover of the pulp comics and the comics from the 40s, just because of my dad, with the Shadow, and liking all that stuff. And my great grandmother would sit down, and she would watch the Lone Ranger. I was her excuse to watch all the stuff that she liked without her getting made fun of. But she liked Tarzan and all that stuff and all the pulp stuff. So I was really intrigued by this, and I sent him the Blonde Phantom, and he loved the idea, and he came back and said, he told me, he's like, I've never drawn the Blonde Phantom before. He's like, this is the only time I've drawn her. And I was like, I was looking for a character you haven't drawn, but are you sure? And he said, yep. He's like, I'm sure. I've never drawn the Blonde Phantom before. He had his wife pull reference for from the 40s to get the dress correct and the hairstyle. She went through hairstyles for the 40s and got him reference so he could get the hair right and the fall of the dress right, so everything would be correct. And what's nice about this is that on the back of the piece is prelims for one of his Adventures of Superman issues. There's a couple of panels that he did for the prelims, which should be in the additional images. There you
Oh,
go.
cool.
Yeah. So there's prelims in the back. Yeah, on the back of it. So
Well, that's great because I mean he didn't get the opportunity to do full figure pieces
mm-mm,
too often.
no.
So yeah, you
Yeah.
right place, right time.
Yeah.
On that one.
Hmm.
And it wasn't your wife getting in front of you, right? In the
No,
lines, because this
no,
is
no, it
2012.
wasn't. Yeah, this is 2012. So she was there. She was with me, and everything. And she knew that I was just thrilled. Right. And then she, of course, she met Uncle George and was, just taken with him, as well. So
Everybody
it's just,
was. There was
yeah,
nobody more gregarious than
no,
George Perez. I
yeah,
mean,
just what
he
a,
could light up a room. He could,
hmm
yeah. He was always like in the corner at the Pittsburgh Comic Con that I would go to,
hmm
and not in a bad way. All the main
right.
artists were on the outside of the kind of the layout, right, and all the booths and stuff in the center
Yeah.
with all the artists, and his corner was like the corner to be at. There would always be a crowd of people
Yeah.
in there just
Oh, yeah.
listening to him. I mean,
Yeah.
he was having fun, and then when he would do his raffles for, picking, who he was going to sketch for and stuff.
Right.
I mean, he always drew a crowd.
Hmm.
He was the best,
Yeah.
absolutely the
Yeah,
best.
it's absolutely the best. And then, coming around in full line, and he saw me there, and I was just like, yeah, I'm just here to pick up a, commission. He's like, hold on, people. He's like, oh, and he came around the table, gives me the big hug, all that stuff, and people are like, who is that? And I'm just like, it's like we've been to like this. This is Uncle George. I'm like, if y'all haven't met him yet while you're waiting in line, just make sure you have your books out and try not. I even told the one guy who had a wagon. I'm like, please don't make him sign 100 copies of the same Wonder Woman issue. Don't do that to the man. And he laughed. He's like, I'll sign whatever you want. And I'm just like, just don't do that to Uncle George. Come on, he's got to draw too. Give him a rest. And so, but it was, it's I miss it. He's one of the ones that I just miss, all the time. But this is this is one of the ones, like I said, it was framed, when the tree came down, it was right on the stairs, and the frame didn't move, but it was one of the first ones I took off the wall and put it in a safe place as after all that damage. So
Yeah, yeah. No, I can see why. Again,
hmm
the finished pieces like this were few and far between, from him. I mean, they're all great, but getting to
yeah.
see with the tonal work and everything like that, I
Hmm.
mean, that is definitely very special.
Yeah.
Shaggy
Yeah.
Wong said he was a good dresser, and
Yeah.
he also added that direct interaction with the
Oh,
artist and
yes.
stuff. And that's part of your thing, right? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
that
why
is
you
that is
lean more towards
absolutely.
commissions. And no,
But
I get it. I
if
mean, that's the special thing about our hobby, right?
Yeah, if you would have if you'd have told me that I would have had, like Jerry Ordway's cell phone number, right? And we'd be at cons, and he'd be shooting me texts going, "Where are we going for dinner?" Right? Like, when I was young, like that, that stuff that, I couldn't fathom when I was younger, and looking at all that stuff. But it's those interactions and becoming friends with the artists and all that stuff. It's all part of it's all part of that chasing the commissions. So that's why I like to do it so much too. I like to you know I like to get uh I like to get to know people. And I think some of the artists enjoy that from the commission standpoint, because I think because I've been doing this for so long, a lot of them know that, I'm not going to flip or anything. Like, my stuff's not going on eBay, anything like that. It's like, it's going into my collection, right?
Hmm.
My wife can figure out what she needs to do with it when I'm gone. But, for now, while I'm here, it's mine.
Actually, a photograph of my son with George Perez and a piece of what he
Oh,
got
nice.
in 2006. We did a hero charity
Hmm.
contribution, and it was for a two character commission and lunch with George.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
so it was at Pittsburgh, and yeah, it was awesome. One of the best experiences I ever got to have at a show was just getting to hang out with him, and he paid
Hmm.
for lunch and
Oh,
gave Ashton that artwork, uh, and when he drew it at the show too, that was a crazy thing. And we asked him what he
wow.
wanted, and he's like, I want Thor and Superman. And he's like, you want them fighting, right? Because everybody asked me they
Mm-hmm.
want them fighting, and he's like, no, I want them to be friends.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'm going to do it that way, Ashton, but that's not what everybody asked for. Oh, so so we got this great picture. Yeah, it's awesome.
That's fantastic.
That was like the first piece of art I ever got for Ashton when
Yeah,
he was 8 actually at that time, 8 years
yeah.
old, born in '98. So that's so there you go. Yeah, George was the best. Marcus says he wish he got that Hawaiian shirt with all the dragons on it.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been a good one. Uh, so yeah, so any other interesting stories related to some of these, or should we probably just
Uh,
start looking at the artwork because I
yeah,
assume there's
yeah.
going to be some good
If
stories
you want to
there.
start looking at them, like I sent you a whole, all of them have stories. A bunch of them that I sent have stories to them. The ISIS story, I think you'll appreciate. So I sent you the one with from Richard Cox. It's the Mighty ISIS uh, that I sent you. It's part of my. I have a theme going called the Search for Superman. So
Mhm.
I've been writing a story with my commissions for a few years now, where Superman across the all the versions of Superman across the multiverse, the villains got together and they took him out of the timeline. Um, but he escapes, right, because he's Superman every once in a while. So there's clues that he'll leave before he gets captured again, right? So but because it's the multiverse, it doesn't matter. So I can have every character team up from wherever, right? So I did this Richard Cox did this Mighty ISIS for me, and the search for Superman is very subtle. There's the Superman symbol is in the pillars a little bit, but the piece before Heroes Con, because it was the Mighty ISIS, got my PayPal account and Richard's PayPal account suspended.
Oh
He
no.
couldn't figure that out why. So it was a few weeks before Heroes Con. I get this notification from PayPal after I sent the payment for the commission. Uh, I get a notification that my PayPal account is suspended, and I'm like, why? And try to talk to somebody at PayPal is impossible,
Right.
right? It's just like you email and this and that. And I'm racking my brain, and I'm trying to figure this out. And then I went, oh no, I think I know what happened. When I sent the PayPal payment, I was just like, this is for ISIS.
Oh no.
See you at Heroes Con.
Right.
So I was like, it has to be that, right?
It has to be.
Then I get a message, and Richard messages me. He's like, my PayPal account's been suspended. I'm like, that would be from me. I know exactly what happened. It was because I did this. So I finally got a response from PayPal, and they said that we have to do something, uh, about this because we flagged your account for suspicious activity. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about because I'm buying artwork and the character's name is Isis, and they're like this. So I got really I got a little snarky with it. So I wrote essentially a term paper on the character, the Mighty Isis, and sent it with pictures from the DVD box set and all that good stuff. So I sent that to PayPal, and we got our PayPal accounts reinstated right before Heroes Con, which was a huge relief to me as a collector and a huge relief to Richard, who needed the PayPal account to get paid at Heroes Con since he had his
Right.
table. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Well,
That's yeah, I never would have thought about that, but boy, the idea that
yeah.
you even had to prove it. I mean, they could have looked at your PayPal history, right? To
They
know
could have
that
looked at my PayPal history. They could have seen previous purchases, things like that. But
I'm sure ISIS had to have been mentioned at least one other time
yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah,
but maybe that's what it was, you hit a quota. But
I hit
anyway,
a quota. I mentioned ISIS twice, right? But
you work in databases, you know how this
yeah,
stuff works.
I know exactly
The
how. I
algorithm
know.
finally worked against you.
Yeah, but the funny thing was because that story was a bunch of us at HeroesCon, we were all laughing about it afterwards, right? Um, so I was telling the story to Brian Stelfreeze, and he had heard it already. He had heard the story already, and he was like, "Oh, so." we got Richard and Brian introduced because Richard was a huge fan of his, um, and then that's how I got Brian to squeeze me in on a list that he had already closed at HeroesCon, and he did a head sketch of ISIS for me for that, but he would not let me pay for it via PayPal. I had to promise him that I would give him cash.
Oh man, yeah, exactly. Who would have thought?
Yeah,
I think it's like one of the last pieces in your set.
yeah,
So let's just start looking at
yeah.
artwork because
Let's
I know
start looking
'cause
at them.
we get
Yeah,
to start off with something from Neal Adams here.
yes. So yeah,
Now, not
this
every piece
was
is dated. So when did you get this one?
that was at it was this weird con that came into Georgia. So they keep trying to do a big con here in Atlanta. Um, so my wife and I went down. It was at the Congress Center. So this had to be 2015. I want to say somewhere around there.
Hmm.
I have I have the date in it's in one of my databases. I have to look it up. Reminds me I should add the date to the description on this one. But Neal was there, and we were talking to him, and Neal and I had Neal and I were talking around. We'd been talking around. About things for a while. Like we'd seen him, and he had known me, but I didn't have anything. I didn't have anything from him because I kept missing out. His list would always fill up at Heroes, but luckily at this show, um, it wasn't. It, again, in for some reason, some of the bigger shows that they're trying to do here to compete with Dragon Con to get us another show in the Atlanta area. Not a huge, not a huge thing for art collectors yet, right? It hasn't done it. So he told me he had plenty of room on his list, and if you know Neal's pricing history, right? Like headshot was one thing, right? Then torso would be this, and then if you wanted to add legs, it would be an extra piece, right? And this and that. So I was just like, well, we were talking about Captain Marvel, and we were talking, and we were a bunch of different things. Nobody was at his table. Like I had 45 minutes with Neal in the middle of a convention, and we were just talking about comics, and we were talking about different things that he'd done with with Batman, and just random things. So I had asked him, and I was like, just a bust, if you could just do me a bust of Captain Marvel, just headshot, and just get the get the lightning bolt in there. That's all I asked for. And he went, no problem. We negotiated. We said everything. I paid him, and he's like, I'll have it for you tomorrow. No problem. So we go back the next day, and I, I go back and I say hi to him. He's Uncle Neal, right? I'm just talking to him, and I see this piece sitting on the front of his table, right? But in my mind, I asked for a bust, right? It was, I'm looking for a headshot, and he had time, and he said that he enjoyed the conversation and everything. So he instead of a bust, I got this, and he did this, and my wife was there laughing because she she's looking at it, and he nodded at her and was like, yeah, that's his. And like, and I in my brain was not registering that this piece was going to be mine because I didn't ask for a full figure Neal. Like, it wasn't in my budget. you know so yeah, so he surprised me by doing a getting me a full figure and throwing in a little background smoke, and and all that. So
Wow, that
yeah.
is nice. Early on, Neil's table always intimidated me because
Hmm.
he was one of those guys that introduced the pricing tiers and structures, and it all
Yes.
seemed really expensive,
Hmm.
to me getting started.
Yeah.
And I can't even really say that I ever really had a conversation with him at a show. I always went by his
Yeah.
table and looked at stuff, but
Hmm.
I don't think I asked him for anything. I
Yeah.
talked more with him, in the interview I did with him than I ever did at shows, just because it's Neal Adams. For me, I was
Right.
like, he was almost unapproachable in a little, in some ways, and
I
I
was
regret it now. But
mhm.
this is great.
Yeah, the first couple times I met him, I was intimidated too. It was the same thing, right? Like, I mean, it was, it's Green Arrow, Green Lantern. It was there was Batman, right? Like all the stuff that he did. Uh, you know, so I had said hi to him, but at this show, I was just like that. I was like the heck with it, like because normally there's a lot, he had a line, right? But at this show, there was like he was just sitting there, and he was just doodling on a pad. Like it wasn't even, he was just drawing for fun when I walked up and sat down with him. Like he even had me pull up a chair and sit down. So I just sat down and like it's one of those things where in hindsight I'm like, why didn't I record this conversation? Right? Because we were
It
talking
sounds like
about
something that would have been fun to have
yeah.
recorded and
Mhm.
used in some way.
Used in
Right.
some way, yeah, exactly. It was just, it was great. So yeah, so Uncle George and Uncle Neil, did this collector two solids.
Well, you
You know,
yeah, you did very well with both of these.
yeah, yeah. Now this I love. This
I
is
recognize this artist
yes,
name.
this is Aranga. Yeah, yeah. So this is the double page spread, 22 by 17, right? uh, one of the things that I really like doing is I like finding new and upcoming artists, right? Like I like the artwork and things like that. And Arango was a fan. I'd seen him post stuff on socials and things like that. But I had this idea. This is another piece that goes into my search for Superman theme, right? Um, but I wanted it's the whole the villains are out there and they've got they're they're guarding different pieces of the puzzle to where Superman is being held and things like that. So you know I was really into it, and I was like we started talking. I was like, look, what why don't we do a new Fantastic Four versus Fin Fang Foom? And he absolutely was just like, yep, let's let's do it, let's get it done. And yeah, this is what he came up with. And yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces in my collection now.
What's the
you know
size on this one?
it's 22 by 17. It's a double page spread.
That's that's amazing.
And yeah, and when we got it, because he was doing these he was doing these big pieces, but he would only do, he was only taking like one or two,
Mhm.
and things like that. So, pre-con stuff. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. I was like, let's go for it. Let's go big. Why not? I haven't done, a big piece like that. And he was more than willing to it. And, yeah, he just knocked this right out of the park for me. Like it is fantastic. Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Aranga
just
keeps getting better and better.
it keeps getting better and better. And what's nice, what I like, because when you're at Heroes, you meet new collectors that are just getting into the game,
Mhm.
and things like that. And I tell everybody, I'm just like, if there's an artist whose style that you like, who's up and coming, get something from them now. As you see them, I was like, don't wait, because you never know when they're going to break. When there's talent, you're going to be this. It's like the piece that you don't buy today. If you want the same piece in a year or two, it's going to cost you double, right? you know,
Most likely.
it's
If they're still around, yeah, that is for sure.
I mean, look,
Um,
look, look at how Brett Bean, at Heroes, like 3 years ago, Brett Bean at Heroes, you could walk up and get sketches. He had room on his list now, and now at Heroes, I mean, this year he was barely able to sketch, little remarks and things like that. But he's not doing anything because he just his dork comic blew up, and you never know when it's going to happen. And I'm very happy for him. But it's one of those things where if you can find a new artist and you like their art and they're talented, get something from them now. Because you never know what's going to happen, and how they're going to, how they're, if they're going to explode or not.
that is very true. You hear that said, a lot these days when people are complaining about being able to find affordable artwork.
Yeah,
There's plenty of affordable artwork out there. You just have to find the right artists,
yeah,
who's willing to do the work you want, and you move along from there.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
Aranga's one of those guys that definitely I think a lot of people are interested in. Gene
yeah,
Gonzalez here. Gene
yeah.
was. I feel like I haven't seen Gene in a while.
Gene
Uh,
hasn't done, yeah, he hasn't done a convention in, I think, almost, it might be 9 years now that
That
since
feels
he's
about right. When I first
been
started
on the
collecting,
circuit.
I feel like I saw Gene at almost every show in the Northeast that I would have went to, and
Yeah,
I commissioned him like at least every other show that I had gone to, and I've kept a few of them because he was such a nice guy to talk with,
yeah,
and
yeah.
he does really solid work.
Yeah, he's doing he did a whole series of pieces. I have most of them posted on CAF for my wife. We did a Muppets Princess Bride theme, and we recast, we cast the movie and all that stuff. So he's done a series of pieces. He has one more to do, in there, that we'll get from him. It's going to be the movie poster of the Muppet Princess Bride. But yeah, this was an idea. Another collector, Royce, had a Superman Christmas theme one that Gene had done. So I had seen it, and as anybody that looks at my CAF gallery can tell, that I'm a big Captain Marvel fan. Um, One of my favorite characters. And so I had this idea. I was like, why don't we do a Marvel family Christmas? And Gene said, "Yep, let's do it." So he did this, and the details that he put in this, just absolutely fantastic. So there on one of the pictures in the back, like you see the Marvel cousins are in the back on the wall, right? The Wizard is back there. But if you look all the way to the right edge, the Winnebago from the live action TV show
Oh, right,
is
right.
right there. Yeah, so the Winnebago's there. And then, the bad guys are, sitting around there. But if you go down to where Uncle Marvel is, look who's underneath the glass. It's Mr. Mind is underneath the glass.
Oh, this is great. Did you make this into a card?
No, no, not for it. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's Thanksgiving, so I post it every year for Thanksgiving. That's that's it. It's my digital Thanksgiving card for everybody. So
Oh, very
I
nice.
just
And ISIS is on here too, I
yeah,
think.
and ice. Yes, you got it. Well, it's the Shazam ISIS hour. Uh,
Yes.
Gene also he did a. I had him do the old. He did a recreation of the old TV Guide Saturday morning ad for the Shazam and ISIS hour for me one year. Yeah, as well for it. So I'm huge fan. That's a huge part of the childhood. I mean, were the shows great? No. Did they have to be childhood educational? Absolutely. But I didn't care. I was 4.
Right.
you know
Yeah, the bar was kind of low at
the
that point.
the
But
bar
exact
the bar was low. I can't. People complain about these superhero movies that we're getting today. Like, I hear the complaints. I'm like, you have no idea what we had to go through. What the little scraps that we had to pull in the 70s and 80s to get for superhero stuff.
hmm
Everybody's spoiled now. So
They got it made. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I was born in '68, so I grew up on a
yeah.
lot of those.
Hmm.
Um, well, it's nice to see something by Gene too. I've
Yeah.
always liked his work.
Yeah. Yeah. This Wilfredo Torres.
Oh,
This
okay. I was
was
wasn't
yeah.
sure the name on there. Okay.
Yeah, this Wilfredo Torres. He did this is the first piece I did for that Search for Superman theme, that I asked. So I was doing team ups and things like that. And the idea I had is that I wanted a shadow piece from him, and I was just like, why don't we can you do something where the shadow teams up with Lois Lane, because she's looking to see, because Superman has disappeared, and everything, and then he put the little poster of Superman behind them. So this is the shadow and Lois talking about it, but the the ink, the if you look at this, the inks and the wash that he did on the Shadow's cape and the hat, it's just the scan. the scan is nice. It doesn't do it justice when you see it when you see it up close. The inks on this are they're just beautiful, gorgeous. So yeah, this is the piece that kicked off my search for Superman theme, and I have a few pieces from Wilfredo now, and it yeah, he knocks him out of the park for me. Whenever I get something from him, yeah, one of my favorite pieces. In my collection, it just floored me when he handed this to me at Heroes Con. I was blown away. Just that cloak is it's absolutely stunning to see how he did that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's the composition's fun. You
Hmm.
get that kind of tight diamond shape just to the characters, his arms and stuff. You know, you have the focus, but everything around it isn't boring.
Yeah,
It's done really well.
yeah, yeah, and that was that. Yeah, so this yeah, so
I'll
the
jump ahead.
so this Scott Shaw. This was fun because huge Captain Carrot fan, right? And I'm a huge Bugs Bunny fan. So I had asked him, I was like, can you do me a Captain Carrot meeting Super Bugs, right? Uh, and he was more than agreeable to do it. Um, and so sitting at Heroes Con, and he said that he would do it, and I get a call from Scott, and he's like, "I have your piece, but there's a problem." And I was like, "A problem?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, are you staying at the hotel?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." He's like, here, he's like, "I'm at the hotel. I'll just come up and I'll explain it to you. I'll show you the piece and everything." So Scott comes up to the room and he shows me the piece, and I was like, "The piece looks great, Scott. What's the matter with it?" He turns it over, and there's an original comic book strip on the other side of it. It He pulled out the wrong board to do my commission on, so he did it on the back of some an original comic strip artwork that was given to him by another artist.
Oh no.
So he apologized. He apologizes to me. He's like, "I'm going to have to redo it." I'm like, "Well, I love it. I'm not going to take this one from you because it's got the original artwork on the other side." And he's like, "I feel so silly." But what came out of that, because we were just hanging out at the Westin, my wife had left the room to go downstairs to do something. I think she went out down to get a drink at the bar or something. And I told her I'd be down in a minute after Scott had come up to the room. So Scott Shaw and I got to sit in my hotel room, and we talked about how the San Diego Comic Con came about from his early interactions with Jack Kirby. And we sat down and we talked for an hour about how he helped to usher in what is now one of the biggest comic book conventions in the world, right? So all of that, from doing doing it on the wrong artboard, to then just hanging out with Scott Shaw one on one. Again, another conversation that I wish I could have recorded, but I'm just sitting there talking with Scott Shaw in the hotel room, and we're talking about how Kirby was at his house and this and that, and the logistics of getting San Diego up and running, and all the fans that were in there, and I'm just sitting there in awe, going, I can't believe that you would just have the balls to just call Jack Kirby and say, why don't you come out to the coast? We'll have a few laughs, right? Like, I don't, I
Mhm.
don't know where that came from, but yeah, so out of that mistaken artwork, that's where we get. And then and now Scott and I have a fun story about a commission, you know almost gone bad.
Right.
Because had he not noticed, then I would have felt bad, because I would have noticed after, when he handed it to me, and
Of
that
course, you would have
that
brought it to his attention,
and
how long did
I would
so
have
what did
brought
he
it
do
back
though?
down.
Did he finish it, another
Yeah.
drawing at the
So
show? Did he
so
did
yeah. So he finished this at the show. So when he went, he went and found, and he said he made sure 3 times that there was nothing on either side of the artboard that he did it, and then he gave that to me. Yeah, I got that from him on Sunday. at the at the show.
And he has always checked the back of every drawing
He is
board.
now. I'm sure he checks the back of every piece of paper that he does a commission on from now on. Yeah,
Right, he has
absolutely.
to.
Yeah,
Wow. Well, that's awesome. That
yeah,
is a good story, and that you didn't have to wait. It wasn't like, I mean,
yeah,
he didn't have to go tell you personally, but I mean, it is
hmm
funny that
yeah,
he got to show it to you and show you
yeah,
that the error of his
yeah,
work.
absolutely. Yeah. This one,
Uh,
yeah,
Stephanie
another.
Buscema?
Yeah, Stephanie Buscema. Yep. She doesn't go to shows. And I haven't seen her in a show in a long time. I know that she's been doing, she's been doing Disney art and fine art and things like that. But I was able to one year I gave her the choice of a couple of characters, and she picked the Blonde Phantom, and I'm completely happy about it. Thrilled to have an original piece from her, in my collection, especially now. What I was at was the Disney the art gallery down there in Disney Springs.
Yeah.
After OAX, and one of her original paintings is down there. And it had a small price tag on it of like $12,000 for one of her Disney paintings on there. So I am very happy to have a nice 9 by 12 watercolor from Stephanie, in my collection. But I love how she did. I love the eyes, and I like the sparkles that she did, on the dress and things like that. I mean, she really, really killed it, in her style. So, yeah, again, right place, right time at Heroes Con, and got on the list. And, we've been friendly, ever since, right? I'll send her pictures when I find her artwork, because I see she does merchandise stuff, and my wife and I are always on the hunt when we're at Disney to go, and we start looking around, and I'll just shoot her, take a picture, and I'm like, is this you? And she's like, yep, I did that, things like that. So it's now it's our little it's our little Easter egg hunt, when we're at Disney sometimes, is to find, hey, did Stephanie do any artwork, especially around Halloween. She always does a lot of stuff around Halloween time. So that'll be nice when we go down in October. It'll
It's
be,
a big art market, that is
yeah.
for sure.
Hmm.
There's several conventions down here just for Disney related artwork,
Yep.
and yeah, I mean, if she's on the inside of that, that's not a bad place to be.
Not a bad place to be at all. No. Mm-mm.
Well, congrats, it's cool. Was it
Yeah.
11 by 17 too, or was it a
No,
smaller
this
piece?
one's a 9 by 12.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 9 by 12. So
I like to refer to those stars as like the Ditko kind of stars. He always
yes.
used to draw those
Hmm.
with like space effects and stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody else did that, but
Hmm.
that's very nice. Oh,
Uh,
Hembeck.
how can you not have a Hembeck in your collection?
I say that to
you know.
everybody. So prolific, and but you get a multi-character piece here,
Yeah,
man.
no,
This
this
is
is this
2010.
this yeah, this had popped up. Um he had first shown it, I think it was on Facebook, at some point. So this had popped up, and he said it was going to be he said he was going to pop it up on eBay, and everything. And I was the lucky winner on eBay. People slept on it. I don't know if it was because it was the character choices or anything, but a multi-character Hembeck, with Marvel and DC characters, and Negative Man, coming out of his butt. I laughed my ass off when I saw it, and I was like, "Yes, this will be mine." And then, and Hawk Girl looks, cute, but Impossible Man staring at Negative Man's butt it just made me laugh so hard. And it was one of those things where I'm very happy that this is in my collection. Very happy to hear that Fred is coming to OAX. You know, that is
Fred is happy to finally be coming to OAX. Yeah,
yeah,
he's our one and only and only
yeah,
known so far.
yeah,
But yeah, no, Fred's the best. I mean, he's
yeah.
uh you grew up wondering why he was, like getting house ads and things like that in Marvel, and
Hmm.
then I just started loving his stuff and never knew a lot about him until we started having him on the channel. But
Yeah.
he is the best, and I really do look forward to working with him
Yeah.
just getting him to the show. I mean, we all do here.
Hmm.
He's just a fun guy, and
Yeah.
man, uh, he's got a lot of good stories to tell.
Yes. Yes, he does. Yeah, one of the folks that always goes out of his way, on Facebook, to make a unique birthday greeting, for your birthday too. Which is fun. Like birthday rolls around, and I'm saying, hey, look, Fred Hembeck wished me a happy birthday. And it's not just a happy birthday; it's always unique. So I'm really looking forward to seeing him, at OAX. But I tell everybody, I'm like, go get one of it. He puts his sketch cards on eBay. If you're a collector, you need to have a Hembeck in your collection. There's just there's no reason not to. It's just
So very true.
so
Yeah, I
much
still
fun.
have to get his auction poster artwork. That we always print
Hmm.
like an oversized print for that we get signed, and I have not hung mine on the wall yet.
Yeah.
I need to get that up there. Yeah, but anyways, awesome. You're right.
Yeah.
But see, it's a piece that was meant for you.
Yes.
It
Absolutely.
confounded some people.
Yeah.
The whole, negative man coming out his
Hmm.
butt was
Yeah.
a little bit much, but
Yep. But
perfect.
his but the Phantom Stranger is in there too, and I love the Phantom. I love the Phantom Stranger. Which is awesome because I have a Phantom Stranger from Mike McCone,
Hmm.
from one of his art drops. He's like, "Oh, you're the guy that got the Phantom Stranger." I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I didn't think that one was going to sell." I'm like, "Nope, that was mine. Yeah, that was meant for me." I was like, I felt targeted when I saw that. So you know,
Well, congrats on that one. And
yeah.
a
This
John Beatty piece.
John Beatty, yeah, John Beatty, yeah, fully penciled and inked. So yeah, uh, he was doing. John used to do these. He was doing some, like YouTube shows and things like that, where he was, it was sketch shows. He's back doing some of them on Whatnot. But this was one of the ones where he was just taking some, he was taking some commissions, back in the day, and we had met at one of those Atlanta shows back in, like what, 2001 or 2. So we'd been friendly up till then, and so I was going through, and I was just like, I would love to see a Doctor Strange Fate from you, and he was like, "What is that?" And then you know show sent him the reference and everything. He's like, "Yeah, not a problem. I'll do that." And I think uh, he just really went nuts with it. Like the blacks on this are just, are beautiful, and the line work, and he threw the Kirby crackle in, and just went really, really overboard. You know, really love it. And one of my favorite characters that came out of that amalgam universe. So, uh, you know, just a nice piece that threw in my into my collection. And John's been a friend now for 20 years. So, which is which is also nice, right? So, yeah, yeah, lots of fun. If anybody ever has a chance to pick up something from John, highly recommend it. Great inks. I even had, I even got Mike Zeck to pencil, and got John to ink a Captain Marvel, head sketch, for me. I needed a character, and I needed a character that neither one of them had really done before. So they were just like, they're like, "You sure you don't want a Punisher?" I was like, "No, no, I need a Captain Marvel from the two of you, if you could." So
Everybody else was asking for Punisher or Captain
Punisher or
America.
Captain America. Yep, that
Yep.
is correct. Yep, and then there's me. Yep,
Well, that's why these
yeah,
pieces are personal and they're not going anywhere.
exactly, exactly.
I have a piece by John in my collection. I got a
Yeah.
Thor.
Okay,
It turned out really
nice.
nice.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you mentioned Richard Cox,
This is Richard
and
Cox. Yep, yep.
no relation, everybody, just so you
No,
know. But
no, yeah, no
very nice piece
relation.
there.
Yeah. So yeah, Richard's been doing, yeah, he used to table at Heroes quite a bit. He's now doing artwork for a bunch of the Deaf Crocodile Blu-rays. So he's doing the slipcovers for some of these old movies that they're restoring and things like that. So he's doing this, but we'd been talking about doing a team up like a pulpy team up. So I was like, all right, let's do a shadow and a shadow and a blonde phantom, right? Like folks can see themes that run through my collection, a little bit. So, but this one, this is when he started doing the work with, the Copic markers and things like that. So his color work, I absolutely love. I love his line work, but I love his color work and the reds, the reds on this, and then the layering that he did on the shadow to get the black. So there's blue and there's black in there. The scan's really good, but he threw the cityscape in there, the moon's there, and just this point of view shot from, as you're the bad guy when you're looking at this, and you're at the you're at the you're at the end of that, at the end of that gun, and I wouldn't want to be in that position. But again, one of my favorite pieces in the collection, and just because of the way that he does the fabrics. Uh, so it's yeah, really really nice. So uh, he has a Patreon too, so I highly recommend anybody that wants to do that. You can sign up there, and you can get pieces like this from him, and he knocks it out. And he's a huge Godzilla fan too. So if you start talking to him about Godzilla and kaiju and things like that, sure, he'd love to work with with anybody to get this stuff done.
Yeah, she's shooting whoever it is while they're
Whoever
down
it
on the
is.
ground.
Yep.
Or on the ground and
They're
getting
knocked
them.
down on the ground, and yep, that's it. Yep. Yeah. So this piece, Drew Moss
Drew
did
Moss.
this,
Okay.
right? So this is Drew Moss. This is a cover. I picked this up. So Drew and I've got a few pieces from Drew in my collection. But my wife and I are huge Disney fans, right? Drew knows that we're huge Disney fans. So he did this, and in the alternate images, you can see this is unique. This is again. I don't chase covers or panel pages or anything. This is a cover. It is a cover for a Darkwing Duck, but it's also it's the same line art. It's one original piece of art, but it was used for two different covers, one Darkwing and one Negaduck cover. So just because of the color, so it's a unique piece in that way. Is that it's the original the original line art is used for two different published covers, which was fantastic. So not only did I love the piece because I'm a huge Darkwing Duck fan anyway, but having a piece that is unique, that was used for two covers, just sold it for me. And I had told him that I was like, of course I would take that, please, yes, I will. Please twist my arm. I will add that to our
Did he
collection.
do the coloring on it too for the two
He did
covers?
he did the color. The colors are all digital, but he did the
Yeah.
colors to it too. Yep. Hmm. Yeah.
Hey, Charles, can see you in the chat, my friend. Yeah, that's cool. So there you go. First
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
is it everything else was nothing else was published yet?
I have, yeah, nothing that we've seen tonight is published. I do have, there's an old, I have a page from like I've got a couple of other things that are published now. I think like I've got a cover, one of them was published on the cover of an art book. I sent that to you. I think Bohampton, uh the Bohampton piece that I sent. But
Hmm.
I do have a piece from a Jimmy Olsen comic book that has Robin Hood and Little John in it. So that's a panel page. But yeah, this is one of the first covers that I have. I have a couple of other covers in my collection now, but this is one of the first.
All right. Well, we're gonna look at a piece of ISIS artwork
This
next.
is this is the one that I was talking about.
This is the infamous artwork,
This is
right?
the infamous artwork. This is Richard Cox again. This is what got our PayPal account suspended. Yep. Right before Heroes Con. It's one of those one of those things that I've learned. PayPal now is I say thanks in PayPal. I do not mention what it's for or anything like that. It's just, hey, thanks. But again, this is just more examples of Richard's artwork and how he blends those markers. If you look on the pillars, those, everything is blended, and it's lovely. And Isis is there, and then at the bottom of the pillars and the bands, you can see the Superman shield,
Yeah.
right? So that's one of those things where, as Superman has escaped at some point, he put the mark on there as a as a clue as to what time he was in before he was snatched up again by whoever's taking him and keeping him trapped somewhere. So, but that's the piece of artwork that was the deadly piece of artwork that made me do a term paper on the mighty Isis.
Well, everybody at PayPal is, well, not everybody,
Yeah.
but whoever those people who are scanning keywords on transactions, they're at least educated now.
Yeah.
And here is the stealth
And
freeze.
that's
All
the
right,
stealth freeze Isis. Yep. Yes.
you got to pay him with cash.
I had to pay him with cash. Yep. He would not. Yeah, he would not. He would not allow me to pay him with PayPal. I could not mention ISIS around him, but boy, did we have. But everybody was. I mean, what a story as we were. As we were standing around laughing. And Brian, he went ahead and was nice enough because folks had gotten to him, earlier at Heroes Con, and he wasn't sure if he was going to be able to get to it, but he made some time. He made some time for me to do
Well, it's
this.
nice
And
to
if
see just a straight, black line art piece by
yeah,
him. And we're so used to, and he's with, beautiful color pieces and everything.
right.
But this is gorgeous.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gorgeous. I loved it when he just sat there, drawing that for me, and it was just really just great. But we were just laughing the whole time about the idiocy at PayPal and all that stuff. So it was lots of fun. So, but that story about getting PayPal suspended got me on Stelfree's list at Heroes Con. So
yeah, you can't argue with
no,
that.
can't argue with that at all.
Oh,
Uh,
okay. So
yeah,
tell me about this. It
there's
says,
Bud Root.
yes, it's,
Yep.
and you see this and it's like, hey, I can get Bud Root to draw a nice, Black Widow or something, and
Right.
do a good job at it, or something.
Yeah.
It's fun seeing this because you only think cave women when you think
Right.
Bud Root.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had an idea. So I'd known Bud, for a couple of years. We'd met at Heroes, and things like that. So we were at this Middle Georgia Con in Macon. So in 2016, and it was earlier in the spring is when it was happening, and again, people at that con, they were wandering around. Artist Alley was empty. Like those of us that went down to go get commissions, and for the artists that were there, boy, what a show that was, because they were ready and willing for a 2-day show to draw, right, or sell some art, because they were selling books, but they weren't selling any art. So I started talking with Bud, and I was like, I have this idea. I was like, I'd like to be on your list for Heroes, but what I'd like to do is I'd like to get a piece that connects, right? Like, let's do like almost like a double page spread. We could do one here, and then I would like to do, get on the pre-con list for for Heroes. And he was up for the idea, so he did the Catwoman for me at that Middle Georgia Con. And did the rope, and I was like, oh, well, I want a Phantom Lady, from you, at Heroes. So this is the concept that he came up with, right? So he's got it now. The Panther with Catwoman makes total sense, right? Everything's
Oh, yeah.
great, right? She's getting Phantom Lady and this and that. And I looked at Bud and I was like, so Bud, why is the Shadow acting like Kilroy down in the in the corner of it? And he's like, and he looks at me and he's like, I don't know. he's like, he's like, I had the idea, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna, we're doing this little pulpy thing, and he's like, well, I added the cat to Catwoman, so I was like, the shadow would go with, with the Phantom Lady, so I threw it in there, and I was like, well, it works for me. I think it's great, right? It's just a little, it's just a little touch to it.
You had
So
to ask him though. I
yeah,
mean,
so
I
yeah,
would have asked too.
he's like, but he just looked at me. He's like, I don't know why. I don't know why I did it. And the idea came to him, and before he knew it, he had drawn it on the paper. But again, so this is basically a double page spread because both of these are 11 by 17 Bud Root pieces. Um, that I was able to
Well,
get.
I've actually, I've seen him at many shows. I never talked to him to the last Heroes Con.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
I was just like, I gotta at least say hi to this guy,
Yes. Oh yeah.
and he was a lot of fun.
Yeah. 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 Bud's a lot of fun. He's a character. So it's it's awesome. But yeah, loved it. Love this piece, and wound up with a double page spread, of two sexy women by Bud Root. So and a random shadow poking his head up out of the corner. You know, why not?
Right. It's a two-figure piece now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is Chris Flick. He does a web comic called Capes and Babes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Was
yeah.
yeah
Okay.
was he's been at Heroes and all that other stuff.
Yeah, I've seen his
Um,
work.
this was at the point I was getting annoyed, just because I kept seeing Batman on Gargoyle. Like that's all I was seeing. Like it was just like it's still everywhere. It's like Batman on Gargoyle in the rain, Batman on Gargoyle at night. It was always Batman on a gargoyle and everything. So I was like, hey, can you draw me a gargoyle? Can you draw me Gargoyle on Batman on a gargoyle? So so he was like, Gargoyle. I'm like, yeah, from the Defenders. Let's get Gargoyle on Batman. And Chris went, yes, I can do that. So he's a cartoonist. It was funny, and you know, and I was just like, yep, let's do this. So he gave, he popped this out at Heroes, and loved it. I don't know who the collector was. Uh, that was there, but there was a Batman collector that was there. There was probably like 10 of us around laughing at it about how it's always Batman on Gargoyle. And this one Batman collector, he's like, I don't find that funny at all. And he stormed off. And we all were just like,
Sacrilege.
we were just like,
Or he was probably the guy who collected Batman on a gargoyle.
yeah, it could be. I don't know, but we were just like, wow, is he mad? And I was just like, I think it was because we were making fun of all the Batman on a gargoyle pieces, right? Because that's all we see. Um,
Oh,
so that was fun. So this is one of the fun pieces. Humor, cartoony stuff. So Chris has done I've got a few pieces by him, in my collection now. But this one is one of my favorites from him.
yeah, it's a great one-page strip.
Hmm. Yep. So this is
This has to have a story.
yeah. Well, this is so I wanted to do a cover for my search for Superman.
Yeah.
Um, so Matthew Childers, he tables at Heroes Con quite a bit. He did. So I was talking to him. Very reasonable prices. For a collector. And so I said, I was like, I told him the story about the search for Superman, and this and that, and I said, I'm looking to do a cover, but I need to get, I do these, and I was like, and I want these characters in there, right? Because I needed the Great Mouse Detective, because I needed a detective to go, on the hunt, for everything. And then what was fun, and then so he put Batgirl on the gargoyle for me, right? And then I had Wolverine as the brawler, and then Captain Marvel. So he did this. He hand lettered. All the lettering is hand lettered, so he penciled and inked everything. And then I had it. So I loved it. It's fantastic. And I had Alberto Wolverine searching for Superman because he's a good guy. That's why he's a good man. You see. um,
Alberto
So
asking the tough questions out
he's
there.
it's the tough
It should have
questions.
been Captain America or something.
Yeah, it
Uh,
should have been, for reasons, yes. But so he did the pencil, so it's pencil and ink on the board, hand lettering, all that good stuff. And I'd known Laura Martin for a while. She'd done a couple of pieces for me, but when I told him that I was going to get Laura Martin to color this, he about lost his mind. He was like, "What?" Um, and I know people will get scans and they'll print out blue lines and get a color. I wanted Laura's colors on the board, right? So this is a true comic piece. It's pencils, ink, and colors all on the same board. Um, and it was funny because Laura uh, she didn't have the time to finish it at Heroes Con, but she's in the Atlanta area. So she asked if she could take it home, and I was like, yeah, this not a problem, right? We can do it. That's yeah, the Superman cape. You'll see if you look through my search for Superman gallery, there's always a little piece of Superman something somewhere that's in there. Torn cape, utility belt, something like that. There's usually a Superman symbol somewhere in the whole thing that I
mhm.
tell the artist it can be subtle or it can be right out. It's their decision how to incorporate it. Um, but Laura, took this home and she finished it, and we were going down to downtown Atlanta to the gun show restaurant, Celebrity Chef restaurant, fantastic restaurant. We were going down there, so Laura and her husband were like, "Well, we've been wanting to go down there too, so we'll go down there for dinner, and I'll bring the artwork with me, and I can just give it to you at the restaurant, and we can all just go." And I was like, "All right, fantastic, we can do that." So we got in there. I saw Laura, at the bar. We had a drink. She and her husband had dinner. My wife and I had dinner with all of our friends, and then, in true Atlanta fashion, Laura walks out of the restaurant, and we were sitting kind of by the door. So my wife knew that Laura was going to give me the artwork, but none of the other people that we were with at dinner knew what was happening. So all of a sudden they see this woman open the door, come in, hand me a package. I took it, put it under the table, and went, "Thank you." And she was gone and stunned everybody at the table. Everybody's like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. It's none of your business. This is Atlanta. We don't talk." And then everybody's like, and then somebody at the table was like, "What? Did you get artwork while we're at dinner?" I'm like, "Yes, I had the colorist drop me off a piece of art while we were at dinner here." And they all just looked at me, and the choruses of nerd and all that stuff from all the friends around there. But yeah, that's where that's where that's how that piece
That's how it
finally
gets
came to
done in
fruition.
Atlanta, is what you're telling me.
Yep, exactly. Things
Good
happen.
old Alberto, he's just,
Yep,
giving Cyclops a hard
giving
time.
Cyclops a hard time as
It's all right.
usual. Yeah,
But yeah, love Laura's work, and so that's
yeah.
a nice addition to that piece. And you
Hmm.
had the courage to have it done on the same board, which
Yes. Hmm.
is something that most artists or most collectors don't want to do.
Yeah. Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that, but
There's
yeah,
nothing.
this
Yeah,
turned out great.
I like the whole process of making the comic books, and I'm like, I like the pencils and inks and colors on the same board. It's
Mhm.
just one of those things as you know, growing up on that, and my first commission was pencils, inked, and colored on all on the same board, right? So that
Ray
that first
Morrow.
piece I got, it's just right there. So yeah, yeah, Jamie Jones. Right. So
Love
this
Jamie's
is
stuff.
yeah. So here's Jamie. I wanted him to do a shadow piece, but he did a crowdfunded book for his baboon series that he
Mhm.
did, and he had one of his bigger commission ops in there as one of the rewards. So I was like, I need something pulpy from you. I need the shadow. I was like, the shadow and Zorro. Let's do it. And he absolutely just went crazy for it. And yeah, just bang this out. And this is one of those ones where, as we are you know as we talk about it, it took a little bit longer, to get to it. But again, I think that extra time, that extra time that he took, uh I think it paid off, and it turned into a beautiful piece. The colors, the color work and everything on this is great, and it's a nice action piece. And I love the red shadow in the back.
I was
Is
gonna say the
just
same thing. That
it's
really
just great.
helps
Yeah.
kind of pull it all together too. I
Hmm.
mean, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
Jamie is awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I bought something from him at the Fall Comic Art Live myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's awesome.
Yeah, he did a Lone Ranger in my nostalgia sketchbook for me at this past OAX. So I got him to do a Lone Ranger for me. So yeah, it's really nice.
Yes, he does.
Nice, Alberto. Jamie Jones will return.
Yeah, so we could have like a drum roll kind of play, and
Yeah.
we do the announcement. Yeah, thank you, Alberto. We'll let you know when a position in marketing opens up here at CAF HQ. CJ tells him to calm down. Yeah, calm down, Alberto. All right, but Jamie's just awesome. Got to see him at
Yes.
IC3 Jacksonville, and yeah, he's done mystery sketch with us the last
Hmm.
several times, and they're always freaking great. I wish
Yeah.
I'd get one from him,
Yeah.
but no, very 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 good pickup.
Yeah.
The Bohampton piece
Yeah.
you mentioned
Bohampton
earlier.
piece.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. There we go. So this back to Flash Gordon, the old serials and things like that. So uh, this was one of the Kickstarter rewards um, he offers. So it was nice painted commission. So I wanted I just said the only prompt I gave him was Flash Gordon and Dale art.
Mhm.
That's all I asked for. So he did this piece and knocked it out, and this is now the cover of the third volume of his art book. So so it's now a published cover. So another published cover that I have in my collection.
Nothing wrong with that. No,
No.
Bo's always his style is kind of classic. He mixes a
Hmm.
little bit of wood with a little bit of I don't know. I mean, the colors here are
Yeah.
just very nice. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've always appreciated his work.
Yeah, yeah. The line, the detail on the ship and everything. Like he could have just made it smooth, but he put all the texture on the ship and everything. It's great.
Mhm.
They look like they're floating. It just what a real just really great piece. I was so happy when I saw this come through. Yeah,
Nope, I completely see why.
yeah,
And you get the luck. You said published as well.
yeah. Because it's on the cover. Yeah, I mean, he published it. He put it on the cover of his art book, Volume 3. So
That counts.
yeah. Yes, yes, it does. Yeah, and it's a hardcover. Yeah, it's on the hardcover book. I was I was I was I was thrilled when I saw that. The Kickstarter went live for the third volume of the book, and I was like, oh, that's my commission on the cover. I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome.
All right, now this next one is very interesting.
Hmm.
So let's flip over to that. So
Right.
it's a Jaws homage.
Yep.
It's by
Yes.
Josh
Josh
Greathouse.
Greathouse. Yep. He's in Indie Island at Heroes Con every year. He, st- I'll say, he studied with Brian Stelfreeze. If you take a look at the colors and things like that. So he's been, uh, he's known Brian for a long time. He does independent books. He's been doing a book called Bang that he's kickstarted. A couple of things. So it's there's a lot of different things. But I've known Josh. He's another Atlanta artist, um, and he does he does movie pieces for me. That's where we've started getting in there. He did he did a beautiful the if you were at the art auction at Heroes this year, he did the Typhoid Mary piece. There
Oh
was a
yeah, yeah,
Typhoid
yeah.
Mary,
That was awesome.
the big purple, like
Hmm.
lots of purple and blues and all that stuff. So that was his big Typhoid Mary piece that he did this year. So I had asked him, I'd given him a couple of options, but he did the Jaws for me, and basically this is now like a 40 character piece, right, with all the people in the water. But the way that the blood's flowing down, from the three main characters down through, and you've got the we've got the silhouette of the shark, Bruce is underneath the bathers, and coming up, and it's Jaws. It really all came together. He keeps getting better and better for me. So I have all the other pieces, like he did
Yeah,
a
I was just looking in your CAF
yeah,
gallery. That
yeah, he
Jay and
has,
Silent Bob piece is pretty
yeah,
nice.
the Jay and Silent Bob and the Mallrats
And-
piece. This is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So we were thinking about doing Dogma this year, and everything, but which was one of the choices, but we went, he went with Jaws. So we may do a Dogma piece and get that, get that. Try and get that, Jay and Silent Bob again. But this was really nice because the blues in this one are really, really striking. The scan is good, but the details and the colors, again, when you're looking at it in person, you can really zoom it. You can really and the colors come out a little better in person than they show up in the scan as well. So
Well, I did link the Jay and Silent Bob piece into the
mhm.
chat for those of
Nice.
you who haven't seen it before. Marcus has seen it because he left the only
Yes,
comment on
the
that
only
video.
comment on it. Yes.
Let's see, last piece of the night, and
Cat
it's it.
Hudson.
Yes, yeah, I'm familiar with their work. This is cool. This is a very nice piece.
Yeah.
You get Jonesy in there too.
Yes. Yeah. Jonesy's in there. Yeah. I like Cat a lot. I have a couple of pieces from her, but I chose this one just because the way that she did the xenomorph on the piece it's gorgeous, right? It's not glowing in the dark, but it looks like it's glowing in the dark when
It
you're
looks like
just
it should be.
like it should be. It just looks like it's glowing in the dark. When you're looking at the piece, it's really great. So I highly recommend. She works in animation now. She does character design, things like that, is where she should be. So I haven't seen her at a show in a little bit, but if you look her up on her, social media and things like that, uh, she will do art drops in her Etsy store, if anybody's looking at it. And I'm sure if she has the time, she might do, a commission or two out there. But I know that she'll do it. She did this at a Heroes Con for me the one year. So really just a really great piece. But, throwing Jonesy in there and making the xenomorph look like it's glowing was just amazing. And she did this, this was a pre-con. So she was able to spend a little more time on it, than just doing something at the show.
Hmm. So you got did you commission her for the piece or
Yeah,
did you?
I
Okay,
commissioned.
you did.
Yeah, yeah, I commissioned her for this. Yeah, I did, and all I said was like alien. you know, I just want an alien piece. Yep, and that's what she came up with. So, which is one of the great things I love about doing commissions. I don't try and art direct or anything like that. I give characters, and a lot. There are artists that I will just I'll give a list of characters to. Just to see what they come up with. But I always try and match, artists with subject matter that they like as well. Because she did a Thing piece for me. John Carpenter's The Thing
Hmm.
that she did, and did I've got a Harley Quinn piece from her, and a Savage Land Rogue piece from her, as well. So, just really, really nice stuff. But yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, one of my
Yeah,
faves in my collection.
there's only 12 pieces by her on CAF.
Wow.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but they're all really nice.
Hmm.
Seeing it. So her name again is Catherine Hudson, everyone.
Yes. Catherine Hudson.
Very, very awesome. So, so before we call it a night, I mean, when you're looking for new talent, I mean, do you do most of that when you're at the shows? You kind of like look through their
I
portfolios, or
it's
do you do
yeah.
a lot of social, like going on to
I do a lot of
Instagram and
I
Facebook
do a lot of social, as we're gearing up,
investigation?
and we all know that as collectors, we like to help people spend other people's money, right? So I get messaged all the time, like you know when David Peterson put up the Robin Hood and Little John for the auction this year at Heroes Con. He posted it on social media, and I want to say I had within about 5 minutes after he posted it, um, I had about 30 messages sent to me either through Instagram or Facebook,
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, did you see this? You got to see this. Look what's going in the auction." And like I knew that it was going to be out of my it was going to be out of my budget, right? At the auction, because the auction goes, the people at the auction, they've been drinking. It goes a little crazy, right? Like, but I know what his pieces go for. Um, so I got a pre-con piece done of Little John for him. But what was funny is that while we were in the lobby of the Westin this year, everybody was there. A lot of people were talking, and they asked me if I had seen it, and I said, "Of course," but I had commissioned a Little John from him anyway, so I was getting a piece, but I'm not going to get the auction piece. And come to find out, he was listening to me tell the story. I didn't realize that he was there in the lobby of the Westin as I was extolling his praises about the piece, and saying that I did the commission. But when we were talking at the show, when I was getting the messages saying, "Did you see the piece?" He was getting the messages asking if
Did you show it to Little
did you
John?
show it to Little John? Right? He was getting hit
You
with
guys could have
did
like compared
yeah,
text
yeah.
messages.
We were. I was like, what? He's like, yep. He's like, did you get it? Did you show that to Little John? Wait, did you draw that? Is that Little John's commission, or like like he was getting hit? So we were both getting hit. So we had a good time chatting about that.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah, I like
it's
the
stuff like that that makes Heroes a fun show.
yeah,
The Westin,
hmm
having so many activities centered around the hotel.
yeah,
Yeah, the drink and draw, the auction,
yeah.
just being able to hang out. I mean, I don't think the bar is as awesome as it was when it
No,
was it.
the closing of the closing off of the lobby really hurts. Yeah, really.
Yeah, I mean, they probably like it just from it looks more professional when you walk in
Yes.
there and people aren't
hmm
hanging out, but it doesn't make it the fun hangout that it was before
No,
they put the wall up there.
no. We're because they took away the table. Like after the bar closed, we would all just sit. At the tables, people would have portfolios. Artists would be drawing, all that stuff. But yeah, it looks more professional and they can close it off. But everybody's like, where are we supposed to hang out? And I think a few of us were joking around. They were like, well, we should, let's see how much a conference room is. Right. Like we were literally thinking about, like, what if we get a conference room? I'm like, but I'm sure that they're not going to let us hang out in the conference room until like 4 o'clock in the morning. Right. Because they're going to
Probably
kick us
not.
out. But but it's one of those things where a few of us were like, well, it's worth asking. Can we, can we get something? We don't need we don't need any wait staff or anything like that. Just we
Just
need a,
rent a
we,
penthouse the
we
next
need,
time you're there,
yeah,
John.
sure. Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
you just move the party upstairs.
Move the party upstairs to the penthouse. Yes. Yes, exactly.
But yeah, it is that's the only part that I don't like about it. But there is enough stuff
Mhm.
to do going, around it. But I don't even think I went in. Did I even go in there this? I don't recall going into the bar area at all this year. Last year I kind of walked in and the bar
Yeah.
just dominant. It's so huge. It occupies more than a
Yeah.
third of the space. Whereas prior to that, it was just that tiny little bar
It
in the
was that
corner.
tiny little
Everything was
bar, and
seating.
yeah, you would just queue up and you could go, yeah, you could go sit down. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that's Robert. I agree. That's the nice thing about OAX. I mean, so many conversations, you know, happening, and we can just you could just hang out and relax, and
Oh,
look
the
at it.
courtyard,
Yeah, the
or
courtyard.
inside the lobby, there it's still
hmm
pretty conducive. The restaurant's
Yeah,
open to the lobby, right? I mean,
yeah,
it is very nice. situation that we have there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
for sure. And we are in full OAX mode now, so lots of stuff coming.
Yeah.
Later this month, I'm sure we'll be able to talk about. But it's fun now. It's fun. Yeah, we're having some really good conversations about 2027.
Yeah.
At the team, and yeah, it's gonna be awesome. That's all
Yeah.
I can say.
Yeah.
And thank you, Tom says OX is the best for hanging out. It
Yeah.
is. I read somewhere somebody said that OAX is only about hanging out, which was just surprising because we've heard it. Everybody does so well there, though. For selling art, to say that it's only it's like only great for hanging out was just like a weird thing for me to read because to me it's like it's fun. Hanging out is awesome,
Hmm.
but at the same time, it's just all the art buying opportunities and
Yeah.
selling opportunities there. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
sharing is caring. Thank you, Michael,
Yes.
for quoting Nick Ferrucci for us. And with that in mind, everybody should hit that thumbs up on your way out the door. Maybe leave a comment when we're done here or something. But John, fun as
Yeah.
always. We always like pass each other at the
Yes.
shows and
Yeah.
never really get
Absolutely.
to chat.
Yeah.
So this was good that we were able to set aside some time tonight to
Yeah.
talk.
Absolutely. No. Yeah. This was lots of fun. Yeah. Thanks for everybody hanging out in the chat. You
Yeah, and
know.
let me throw a link one last time. It is in the show description, but the
Hmm.
link to your CAF gallery is something that, as everybody's kind of signing off for the evening, they can do so by going over to your CAF gallery and checking things out, maybe leaving a comment or two. John, you
Hmm.
said you were going to post a few pieces over the next couple days, so
Yep.
we'll
Yep.
be looking for those.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, great. So I mean, next show? Do you have like a regular thing that you do in the
No,
fall?
my next show is OAX.
Okay.
So unless I go, there's a 1 day show that happens here in the Atlanta area, but I don't do Dragon Con anymore. Um, Dragon Con I live in the Atlanta area, and like to do Dragon Con properly, I would have to get a hotel, right? And it's just and the way that they treat Artist Alley. The last time I went it just annoyed me. It took me I think it took almost an hour for me to get into the building where Artist Alley was because
Mhm.
it's in the America's Mart now, and so they put Artist Alley on top of the two vendor floors, and they couldn't let as many people in at the time. Once we found out where Artist Alley was, so the line was wrapped around the America's Mart building as we were trying to get in. Uh, it turned out okay for me and my wife as we got up into Artist Alley because nobody was up there yet.
So you probably had it
So,
all to yourself.
and we had it all to ourselves, and there was just people going around, and they're like, "Where is everybody?" So I bring everybody to the windows, and I'm like, look down there." And they're like, "Why aren't they letting people in?" I'm like, "They are, but it's the way that the building is and the way the volunteers are doing this is that everybody wants to go to the vendor floors." And I was like, I don't want to go to the vendor floor. I want to go to the floor above the vendor floors to the Artist Alley. And one of the volunteers at Dragon Con was like, "What's Artist Alley?" And that's when I was like, "Oh, I just like my eye twitched a little bit." Like when you walk into when you walk into Dragon Con where Stan Lee is there and nobody's waiting in line for Stan Lee, you know that there's a problem with getting people into Artist Alley, right? Like there is a there's a weird issue, happening. But when people finally got in there, it was okay. But my wife and I had the run of the place, so we were just like, "Oh, let's go over here, let's go over there, let's say hi to this person. Hey, do you have anything there?" And then, so we got on lists and all that stuff, and we were all happy, because and then the artists were happy too, because somebody was up there, spending a little bit of money, anyway, and not buying Funko Pops from the vendors.
Well,
So
I've never made it to Dragon Con, but
no,
yeah, I've heard a lot about it, and it just sounds a little bit too crazy for
yeah,
me. And I
yeah.
don't think I'd understand it the first time going. So without having a guide, I don't think
No,
I'm
yeah,
really willing to go to
it
Dragon
is.
Con.
It's across five hotels and America's Mart now downtown, and it's on Labor Day weekend. And there's always a college football game the same weekend, so there's 120,000 people that are converged into downtown Atlanta, and it just like for me, it's not worth it for me anymore. I always tell people if they're coming in for Dragon Con, I'm like, if you want to meet for dinner or something like that, more than happy. But I'm not
I see
going
you on
to.
the show
And
floor.
yeah, and they don't even really want to sell 1 day passes anymore. So they're trying to get you to buy the weekend passes and all that stuff. So yeah, my next big show will be OAX. So, but
Oh,
we're going to Disney in October for our anniversary. So
nice.
we've got to go and pay our respects at Jock Lindsay's Halloween bar, and do all that good stuff. You know.
I I have not gone to a Halloween at Disney yet. I mean, I've
Okay.
seen the decorations because they do put them up in like September, but
Yeah.
I've not managed to go. My family went, but
Yeah.
I would like to see it. I've gone to the Universal,
Hmm.
they have the
Yeah.
Halloween
Yeah.
nights.
I've done the Halloween Horror Nights. Yeah. I missed the Bill and Ted stunt show that they did.
I've heard about it. I haven't
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah,
No.
that was good. But yeah, we'll do the Mickey's Halloween party. In my opinion, it's the best fireworks show that Disney puts on for the
Oh,
year.
cool.
And the Halloween parade that they do is the best parade, is one of the best Disney parades that they do, especially if you're a horror fan and you like the Headless Horseman. The Headless Horseman will, seeing the Headless Horseman trot down Main Street in Disney is just one of those things that's just really
All
cool,
right, you're making
right?
me want to go this year. All
Yeah.
right. I mean, they started in September, I'm sure. So
Yeah.
I have 2 months to try and
Well,
go.
actually, I think they're starting in August this year for the Halloween party. Believe it
Oh,
or not.
wow. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, Gwen's going out of town in early September, so we get free passes to go to the Halloween Horror Nights because of our annual pass. I had
Hmm.
to get the first night of that at Universal, and it's
Okay.
August 28th.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
But
Yeah.
that
It's
doesn't surprise me that Disney does the
yeah.
same thing. I mean,
Yeah. I
why
think
not have 10 weeks of Halloween, right?
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think, and Disney's. I think even before it's even before that.
Earlier than
I
that.
think it's like
Wow.
mid-August or something for their first. It's 110 degrees and you're out there trick or treating at Disney.
Wow. Uh, I'll look into it because
Yeah.
that's just part of a regular day, right? That's not that I think
It's a it.
they do
No,
a
it's
couple ones that are night only, right?
yeah,
That
like if you want to go in and see the decorations,
you
you
can
can
see the
you
decorations,
can
but
see
you
the
have to
decorations, but if you want to do the not so scary Halloween party, that's
yeah,
the extra
it's like
ticket
a five
and it's at
hour.
yeah, 5
Yeah.
hours. Right. Yeah, it
All right.
starts at I think they'll let you in at 4, but it starts at 7, right? And it goes until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And they do that, but yeah, absolutely worth, it's worth it to go at least once to see the parade and the what you call it,
For
and
like
the
Disneyland.
fireworks. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Uh
Disneyland. Yeah, yeah, the Oogie Boogie Bash. That I want to do that out in California too. A little jealous, Alberto. You know.
well, I'm sure he'll tell us all about it. But
Yeah.
all right, well, I gotta go.
All right.
I'd like to
Yep.
see it. So I'll have
Same
to
here.
see.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
I'll
Yep.
try to see what's available and take maybe Maureen will go with me.
Yeah,
We'll see what
yeah,
it's like.
yeah. I think Halloween night's already sold out of of course. So
Yeah.
that's why we're going down the week of was it the week of the 19th? So
Hmm.
we're doing it
Why don't you
that
saying I don't even
week.
have a chance? I don't even have to think about going because
Yeah,
I won't be
yeah,
able to even get a ticket. Well,
yeah.
there you go. Then
Right,
I have to
exactly.
wait till 2027 now.
Right. Yeah. Now you have to wait till 2027. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, I'm sure you can go. You know, in August or early September if you want to go. I'm sure there'll be tickets there. It's
Uh,
yeah, the closer you get to Halloween, I think is
yeah.
it gets a little it gets a little dicey. But
All
yeah,
right.
because it'll be food and wine festival, all that good stuff. Food and wine festival time at Epcot and
Hmm.
Halloween decorations and all that stuff. And then my wife can tell me not to go into the art of Disney. As much as she wants to.
Oh man. Well, listen, John, this was a lot of fun, and everybody, we appreciate you hanging out with us this evening. Tom says Dole Whips for everybody. Yep,
Absolutely.
they are very
Yeah.
delicious. Yeah,
That's,
that's for sure.
yep.
But yeah, so John, that's great. You got 8 months now to save up for OAX related stuff.
Yeah.
That's a good amount.
Yeah, I've got my, well, it's our 25th wedding anniversary at Disney. So a bunch of that budget is going to be, a bunch of that budget's going to be used, down there.
Oh
Know?
yeah. Oh yeah.
You
No,
know,
I don't blame you for that.
yeah,
But all right, well, everybody, thank you. I will be we're going to be doing that X-Men of Apocalypse art drop tomorrow with
nice.
Mr. DeMio and
Hmm.
Mr. DeTulio. Simone will be joining us for the first, maybe half hour to talk a bit about the project, but I think he's in France or something like that right now. So he's not even in Italy, he's in France, but he'll join us to kind of talk a little bit about the project, and then we'll offer some artwork so you can hang out and enjoy Simone's company there for a little bit, and then take a look at some great pieces of art for sale too. That'll be tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. Looking
Awesome.
forward to that. I just got to see the both of them at San Diego, which was fun. But all right, well,
All
enjoy
right.
the rest of your evening, everybody. John and
All right.
everybody in the chat. We'll see you again
Thanks.
real
This was
soon.
fun.